Good evening. I think my mic isn't working. I'm calling back to order this meeting of the Sacramento City Unified School District Board of Education. At this time, we are going to we don't have our student member to read the broadcast statement. Actually, Board Member Pritchett, would you be willing to read it tonight? No. Yeah, it's not here. Here we go.
This meeting of the Sacramento City School Board is being recorded in its entirety and will be cablecast on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on Comcast, Consolidated Communications, and AT&T UVerse. Today's meeting will air Saturday, May 5th at 1 p.m. and Sunday, May 6th at noon, and webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. We welcome members of the audience to address the board. Please complete a speaker form located in the back of the community room and give it to our communications representative along with any handouts that you may have for the board prior to the conclusion of the item's presentation. Please speak into the microphone when addressing the board and state your name for the record. Please limit comments during public comment to items that are not on the agenda. If you do comment on an item that is on the agenda, we will ask you to please defer your comments until the item comes up on the agenda. Please turn off your cell phones or place them in the silent or vibrate mode.
Thank you so much, Board Member Pritchett. I want to thank everyone for their patience and sincerely apologize for keeping you waiting tonight. We are trying not to make the closed session items running over a regular occurrence. And once again, I'm deeply appreciative of you being here tonight and sorry that we started a bit late. We're moving on to item 4.2, the Pledge of Allegiance, which tonight will be led by Ms. Chasko's second grade class at Hubert Bancroft Elementary. I see all of the proud parents and adorable kids in the audience.
We just do this part and then go home.
Yeah.
And not have
On a high note.
Please stand. Salute. Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That pays in a long time.
Board Member Pritchett has a statement she's going to read.
Thank you. Second graders from Hubert Bancroft Elementary School would like to perform the United States song and the Bone song for us tonight. Bancroft celebrated our 50th year last year with an anniversary event at which we had all living former principals, including Bob Davis, Walter Ori, is that correct? Enrique Flores, and more, along with many retired teachers and other staff members. We even had parents attend whose children were in school the very first year that it opened. I had the pleasure of attending that event as well. It was wonderful. At Bancroft, we celebrate learning through music whenever we can. The state song, a Bancroft tradition, has been taught since the early 90s when our speech teacher's daughter was a music prep teacher. We also know a song about bones, the bones of the body, which is taught to all students each year by Pam Courtney, our famous PE teacher. Many students come back and say that both songs have helped them in geography and biology anatomy classes in junior high school, and college. Besides our hugely successful and popular spring talent show extravaganza, our second graders do a winter and spring show to a packed house each time, which includes poetry, songs, musical instrument solos, drumming, and more. And I believe I have the pleasure of introducing Bancroft's second grade class. Would you like to sing your song?
And now the state song.
The United States, I love my country. The United States, there's Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Connecticut, and Delaware, Florida, Georgia, Hawaii, and Idaho, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, North and South Carolina, North Dakota, South Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Vermont, Virginia, West Virginia, Washington, Wisconsin, and Wyoming. The United States, I love my country, the United States.
Yay!
Chapter, have you heard about Harry? He just got back from the army. I hear he knows how to wear a rose. Hip, hip, hooray for the army.
And now we're going to do the bone song.
Phalanges, ulna, radius, humerus, clavicle, scapula, sternum, ribs, femur, patella, tibia, fibula, phalanges, metatarsal, calcaneus, vertebrae, mandible, skull. Elvis shakes his pelvis all around the world. Cha-cha-cha!
Yay! That was wonderful. That was great.
That was wonderful. And I may have to just come to your school to learn these songs. I have to just come do a visit. I'm going to come down in just a moment. We have a wonderful certificate that you could put up maybe in your school office that everyone can see what a wonderful job that you did for us tonight. And I wish we could have every board meeting like this. This is great.
We can honestly say you will be the cutest part of our night.
Right here, and we'll face that way. I finally get to stand in the back. I'm not the shortest one here. I'm always the shortest one.
I'm going to say one thing. And the teachers represented tonight are Ms. Teplian Chasko and Mr. Howell and Ms. Pam.
Thank you. Worry about it. It's fine.
You do.
It's like smoking cigars on me.
Thank you again. That was wonderful. We're moving on to item 5.0, announcement of action taken in closed session.
I have none, Madam President, but the superintendent does.
Superintendent?
Thank you, President Ryan. I'm pleased to announce that the board, by unanimous vote, or by a vote of 6-0, with board member Cochran absent and no abstentions, approved the appointment of Mr. John McMeekin as principal, West Campus High School.
Is Principal Meekin here? Okay, well, we're very happy for him. We're looking forward to having his continued leadership on the West Campus campus. Moving on to item 6.0, agenda adoption. Do I have a motion? So moved. Second? All those in favor? Aye. None opposed. The motion carries. Item 7.0, special presentation. 7.1, approve resolution number 3008 in recognition of the California Day of the Teacher. Unfortunately, board member Cochran is out ill today. She wishes that we express her regrets, and she has asked that board member Mai Vang present the resolution in her absence.
Good evening, everyone. So tonight I have the honor of doing the recognition of California Day of the Teacher, which is happening May 9th, on behalf of Trustee Cochran, who cannot be here today because she's out sick. And I just wanted to share, I think I've shared the story a lot with teachers and the community members, but there's an amazing teacher, Miss Jean Crowder, when I was a high school student at Sac High, who worked with me every Tuesdays and Thursday night until 11 o'clock, and she would drive me home. And had it not been for her, I would have never gone to college or even given those opportunities. And so for me, this resolution is very personal. I think not just to me, but all the board members on the dais. We understand the commitment, love, and passion that our teachers day in and day out do for our students and families. And so I know we're a little bit behind, but I wanted to take the time just to read the resolution. Whereas May 9th, 2018 has been designated throughout the state of California Day of the Teacher, and whereas teachers touch many lives with a lasting effect, and whereas excellence in our state and district begins with California teachers, and whereas teachers overcome obstacles and challenges daily to make a difference in the lives of students and families. Now, therefore, let it be resolved that Sacramento City Unified School District Board of Education commends our teachers and encourages parents and the community to recognize the efforts of teachers as we celebrate May 9th as California Day of the Teacher. I would also like to present to David Fisher, the president of SETA, a copy of this reso frame after the meeting, and just thank them for the incredible work and advocacy that they have done on behalf of teachers in our district. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Board Member Vang. David, do you want to come up and receive the resolution and take a picture with Board Member Vang? Thank you.
Madam President?
Yes, Board Member Wu.
Thank you. I move to approve the resolution of 3008 in recognition of California Day of the Teacher.
And I will second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Wonderful. We are happy that the motion carries. Moving on to Resolution 3009 in recognition of National School Nurse Day, which will be presented by Board Member Pritchett.
Thank you, President Ryan. The nurses play such a critical role in each of our school sites to make it a safer place for our children. We actually will have two of our district lead nurses presenting tonight on our updated policy on head lice. This just shows that the job of the nurses will help in our schools, and it can also be a nitpicky job. But we really want to make sure that our nurses feel appreciated, and we It's not a job for everyone, that's for sure. I work with nurses on a daily basis, and sometimes it's a thankless job. So we want to make sure that they know that they are very much appreciated. I have a resolution number 3009. Whereas school nurses play an essential role in ensuring children are ready to learn and are thriving, and whereas the Sacramento students, families, and staffs benefit greatly from skill and training of its nursing corps. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the Sacramento City School District Board of Education commends our nurses and encourages all students and staff to honor and recognize the valuable contributions of its school nurses as we celebrate May 9th, 2018 as National School Nurse Day. I will move resolution number 3009.
And I will, Board Member Wu will second. All those in favor? Aye. Wonderful, the motion
And I believe
carries.
we don't have anybody here to accept this tonight. Oh, we do. Would you like to come up? Yay.
Watch out for those head lice.
Oh.
Nitpicky.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you for coming out.
Thank you, and thank you for your hard work. We're going to approve resolution number 3010 in recognition of Classified School Employees Week, which will be presented by Member Hanson.
Thank you very much. I'm honored to present this on behalf of the board and the district to our classified employees who work directly with students, educators, parents, volunteers, business partners, and our community members. Our classified employees support the smooth operation of offices, the safety and maintenance of our buildings and property, and the safe transportation, healthy nutrition, and direct instruction of our students. And our community depends upon and trusts our classified employees to serve our students. So I think we all recognize their wonderful contributions as well, and would like to move Resolution 3010.
All those in favor? Aye. Wonderful, the motion carries. Moving on to item 7.4, approving resolution number 3011 in recognition of National Bike Month, which I will have the honor of presenting tonight. The school district has engaged in a safe routes to school effort with some phenomenal partners, including the city and community, in an effort to ensure that we are encouraging health by also encouraging our students to walk and ride their bikes to school. We recognize that in order to do that, we have to make sure that we have safe bike routes to school. And so this is part of promoting those efforts and hoping that we will encourage a district-wide movement in which parents and children will ride their bikes. In recognition of National Bike Month, May 2018, I'll just read a couple things. Whereas the National Bike Month is an opportunity to celebrate the unique power of bicycles and an opportunity to come together with diverse stakeholders to raise awareness and inspire new riders. And whereas the number of bicyclists is growing rapidly from coast to coast, and whereas with growing cultural awareness around health, wellness, sustainability, and economic savings, bicycling is seen as a simple solution to many complex problems. The visibility of bicycling and interest in riding is undeniably on the rise and of tremendous value to our students. I'm going to motion that we adopt this resolution number 3011 and ask for a second.
So moved.
All those in favor? Aye. And do we have anyone here from our Safe Routes to School? Oh, okay. It's okay. Come on up. And we have public comment on this item.
Monica Hernandez.
Hi, Monica. Thank you for coming out tonight. And she has
Get
bike
those
loot.
in the camera shot, right?
Good thinking.
Right.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Monica Hernandez. I'm with the Sacramento Area Council of Governments. We are the regional organization that runs the May is Bike Month campaign. So I thank you very much for bringing up this very important issue and starting lifelong habits with young people. And I think it's also very important, and you noted that we raise up the facilities and infrastructure needs, particularly in our low-income communities, for safer bicycle and pedestrian access. I encourage you all, and I encourage teachers to go to mayisbikemonth.com. We actually have a program where people can go in, pledge, including young people, it's free, pledge to ride their bike, get out of cars, and be entered into weekly prizes, weekly drawings for prizes and raffles. And I brought each of you something that is very highly coveted in our campaign. And it's these Bike Month socks. And so for those of you who are familiar with our program, I've been working on it for 10 years. These are highly, highly sought after. I'm going to trust that you will, in your other jobs and time, encourage people to get on their bikes. Biking is a family-friendly activity, and we know oftentimes that it is not a choice, but the only option for transportation. So the more people we can get out there riding safely, the better environment we'll have for everybody. We also have some T-shirts here, and I will leave these for you.
Thank you so much, Monica. We appreciate your efforts. And Monica, I have a plaque for you before you take off.
Those socks, because I have to report it as gifts. I will know the exact number.
Pretty sure
They're not $30. Okay, get it for everybody.
We get to keep them all.
If I keep them all, they might be over 50.
It's going to take the whole bag.
The whole bag might be over $50.
And as we move on to our next item, I do want to note that as part of our agenda adoption, we are recognizing the Children's Mental Health Awareness Day on May 10th. I know we have our wonderful staff member, Victoria Flores, in the audience, who has supplied each of our board members with a green mental health awareness ribbon that we're wearing tonight in recognition of the staggering statistic that 1 in 5 individuals will struggle with mental health. Many of us know individuals in our own families and communities that have overcome those challenges day in, day out. And I will say Victoria Flores is one of the hardest working employees in our district, and her work is hard work that we are so grateful for. Thank you, Victoria. Moving on to item 8.0, public comment.
Okay, we have 10 public comments. If you could line up in order, please. First is Karen Sweat, followed by Eric Wiesenthal, Nate Starris, Lori Jablonski, Susan Dabner, Laura Tepley, Jean Chasko, Connie Steinman, and Olivia Hernandez and Andrea Vasquez.
Thank you. Before Karen begins, I just want to remind everyone that you each have 2 minutes of public comment, and I want to be respectful and ensure that each of you get to your full 2 minutes and we get through our list of all public commenters.
Karen Sweat, Making Sense Work. I applaud the resolution to highlight mental health awareness. I'm keenly aware of the need to provide students with services that address current and, unfortunately, ongoing horrible events in our country and, unfortunately, in our schools. The resolution states we are proud of the many supports and services available that address the needs of our students. Because this service is so critical, it has been requested by our community organization partners in an ongoing way. I wanted to share the information about students' supports that is available on the district's website. Again, our wonderful transparency, the position control data report is there. Per the position control data report, there are 32 school psychologists. 1 is at John Morse Therapeutic. 2 appear to split their time between Woodbine and Latata Floyd.
Leotada.
Thank you. The rest are all connected with a special ed department. I did have here a statement, 32 are not enough to address our students, but I'm going to ask, are 32 enough to address our students after that data that you shared? On the subject of student supports, I want to mention that there is in fact an official job description for a bilingual counselor with no specific duties, with specific duties related to English learner students. But according to the position control data report, there are no currently any bilingual counselors. Also, there is no job description, there's no official job description for a restorative justice specialist. So thank you again for highlighting the student supports. Our community organization partners have been asking for increasing these services. A later agenda item tonight is the LCAP, and we'll get to talk about it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sweat.
Good evening. My name is Eric Wiesenthal, and I'm back before you again this evening because I, like other parents of children attending McClatchy High School, would like some answers concerning the issues growing out of the rape 2 years ago of a young woman who attended McClatchy. Notice that I did not say alleged rape, and this is because the overwhelming majority of rape victims either never report the incident or worse, are not believed by authorities or are blamed for their actions. And I'm not here to discuss the merits of the lawsuit filed against the school district. However, I do want to ask the board that were they the parents of this young woman, why would you risk your child and you reliving the horrendous crime unless something did actually happen? This young woman's parents are not in it for the money, and nobody put them up to filing the lawsuit. Now on to the reaction, or I should say inaction, on the part of Principal Peter Lambert, Assistant Principal Matt Schlager, and others as mandatory reporters under Title IX and other regulations. It doesn't matter that the rape occurred off campus after hours. What does matter is that this young woman reported in detail this incident not only to the resource officer, but also others at the school. No police report was filed, no follow-up in terms of counseling and support at McClatchy occurred. Instead, this young woman and her parents were told that she was, quote, a distraction and that she should leave campus until the situation cooled off. Meanwhile, nothing was done to question the suspects, and worse, when the young woman returned to campus, she was taunted and bullied by the same boys who had raped her, in addition to others. Now, please let me know if I've got my facts wrong. They all come from the articles in the Sacramento Bee, so if there are any untruths or inaccuracies, I suggest that you take those up with Diane Lambert, the reporter who's been covering all of this. What the board and the administration at McClatchy do have to answer for at this time is what is being done to convey the message that there's absolutely zero tolerance for sexual harassment or worse on or off campus, and that resources are available to any girl or boy who needs them. And
Can you please wrap up your comments? Thank you.
I'm almost there. I've just got another paragraph. And this needs to be done not by some robocall by Lambert or Schlager. They need to get out of their offices and, if necessary, visit every classroom, not just to lay down the law, but to discuss these issues and be very clear what the law is and what is expected of everyone at McClatchy High School. So this is not a one-day issue. And we are talking about the lives of young people we hold precious in our lives. This is about their families. And finally, this is about our community and the high school that we regard so very highly, and for everyone at McClatchy High School. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you.
Good evening and thank you. Superintendent Aguilar, Board President Ryan, and members of the Sacramento City Unified School District Board. My name is Nate Staris, and I'm a social science teacher at McClatchy High School. On behalf of my coworkers CKM's teachers and counselors, I'd like to correct some statements made at the last board meeting about our vote of no confidence in our principal, Peter Lambert. I'd like to first state that this vote was an extraordinary step that came after years of trying to address serious issues at our site with our administration, and then also contacting the district several times for some sort of intervention about the same exact issues. First, with respect to the vote, as a criticism of CKM as a beloved institution in this district, we strongly disagree. Even though I'm here to share a personal story, it's quite representative of our entire staff. I student taught at McClatchy. I've taught there for 14 years. I've lived in several communities around the district to be around my students. My daughter's going to graduate from there in 2033. We love this school. We love our students and what they achieve after so many hardships. We love our parents and all the support that they give. We love our classified staff because they keep that site running. It was not an attack on CKM as an institution. It was a step that was taken after years of frustration. Second, the vote was not ginned up. Out of the 95 teachers and counselors that were eligible to vote, may I have just a couple minutes or a couple seconds and I'll wrap up.
Please, thank you.
6 were absent that day on the vote, making it 89. 79 took part in the vote. And they took part in the vote even though there was administration surveilling where the voting was taking place. 68 voted no confidence, 11 voted confidence. That's 86% of 79. That's how the vote went down. 4 teachers at the site helped count, helped do ballots, and were not SCTA reps. All we're asking, and we're looking forward to Superintendent Aguilar to come and speak with the teachers so we can offer the details in the story. This isn't the perfect venue for that. We're looking forward to meeting with you.
Thank you.
Board members, Superintendent Aguilar, my name is Lori Jablonski, and I'm a McClatchy High School teacher and site union rep. McClatchy is the only school I've ever taught at, 17-year career. I live in the neighborhood. Like Mr. Stares and like all the teachers here, we are deeply committed to this site. We love our students. We love who we work with. And we're here to ask you, Superintendent Aguilar, to listen carefully to what we would hope that maybe you would do here. In the wake of our teachers' overwhelming no confidence vote, the remarks made at the previous board meeting by board member Hansen that challenged not only the integrity of the vote, but the integrity of the teachers at McClatchy. I and at least 25 other teachers emailed you last week, Superintendent Aguilar, asking that you agree to come to school and meet with the entire teaching staff. Thank you for responding to those emails today. You indicated in your response that you would like first to meet with the 26 teachers who emailed you last week, and I believe there's been more emails since then, but I'll take the 26 number. I'm here to request again, though, that you please consider meeting with the entire teaching staff. Mr. Stares gave you the numbers. The overwhelming portion of the teaching staff voted no confidence. And they want to explain to you, our leader, the leader of this district, the reasons why. A meeting of the larger teaching staff, I assure you, will be professional. It'll be focused. It'll be respectful. And it'll be enlightening. I will email you tomorrow to take you up on your offer of scheduling a meeting the week of May 14th. But in the meantime, please reconsider the terms of the meeting and meet with all teachers. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Susan Dubner Simonelli. My daughter graduated from McClatchy a few years ago. My son is a current student at McClatchy. I was thankful for the 2 forums on racism that took place earlier in the year, and I attended both of them. I feel it's a very worthwhile topic. And then following those, Superintendent Aguilar, you sent us a summary of, or at least many of the notes and suggestions that were made, and I appreciate that. So I replied with this letter, knowing that it probably wasn't going to go personally to you, but those notes did give an email for you directly, so that's what I did. Because I was appalled at things that appeared in the news after the problems with racism. So I began, yes, I want to continue to be a part of the conversation on racism. I also think there needs to be a conversation on how the administration at CKM and law enforcement handle reports of sexual assault. Regarding the gang rape and subsequent bullying of a CKM student 2 years ago, all teachers and administrators and staff are mandated reporters of child abuse. And the school resource officer and police department should have investigated the girl's report of being gang raped, regardless of where the incident occurred. Instead, the resource officer has been transferred to another school. How many victims of sexual assault is he not reporting at his new assignment? Or does he only report sexual assaults that happen to virgins? All of the adults in the room failed to protect a girl who was drugged, gang raped, photographed half nude, had to see her rapist every day in school, and was tortured by bullying every day from the rapist and many other students. Then she was told to leave the campus for a semester because she was a distraction. As a result of this, she eventually attempted suicide. But the gang rape occurred off campus, so the CKM administration and the school district, I believe, deny any responsibility. It's a good thing she didn't succeed in killing herself, because the district and CKM would really be in a sling. I do not know this young woman, but as a mother and a licensed psychotherapist for over 25 years of experience, I know that this trauma will affect her for life. My heart goes out to her. Thank you for listening. I look forward to the day when our schools will be safe places for all of our children.
Thank you. If I can please remind our subsequent commenters 2 minutes each, please.
I didn't hear what you said.
You each have 2 minutes. Thank you.
Okay. Hello, my name is Laura Tepley, and I'm a teacher at Hubert Bancroft Elementary School. I was here 2 weeks ago to ask for your support in maintaining my job share with Jeannie Chasko. It is being arbitrarily denied, even though we have numerous letters of parental support. Here is a timeline for your knowledge. January 31st, job share denied. Grievance filed in February. Our first grievance meeting was March 14th. Notice of denied grievance by HR head on April 9th, 5 days late. Escalated to level 2 grievance immediately. We came to board meeting April 19th to share our letters of support with each of you and ask for your help in maintaining our job share. Today, May 3rd, still no news from HR in regards to our level 2 grievance date, and not one of you has reached out to either of us. It is one thing for you to ignore us, but to ignore the letters of genuine support from our parents makes us very sad. We hope that it is not your tactic to try to make the process extremely slow and tedious. We hope that you will take joy, comfort, and pride in the wonderful programs that we bring to the Bancroft students and allowing us to keep the time with our families. We are wondering, have you read our packet? I don't really think so, because if you had, we would not still be fighting to keep our job share position. We believe in ourselves and our job share program. We would love to continue enriching Bancroft. We hope that after today, we will finally have the support that we have worked for and deserve. We hope that justice will prevail and that you will not allow our fate to be because of a bad decision based on an opinion and bias. Bancroft is struggling in many ways right now. We are a positive part of Bancroft, as shown by our letters of parent support and our wonderful students that were here tonight. It is upsetting that you are allowing a once coveted school to be torn apart.
I believe that you're all supposed to be there to help everyone in this district, not just the people you favor. We appreciate your time and still look forward to your support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, and thank you for hearing both of us again. And we're very, very grateful to you for listening to us and hopefully reading our packet of letters from our students and parents from last year and this year, and former students of Mrs. Tepley. I'm Jeannie Chasko, and this is my third year as a second grade job share position at Bancroft. I was a long time volunteer at Bancroft, Kit Carson, Sacramento High for many years until it closed. My grandparents went to Sacramento High. I am from Dixon, but I moved up to Sacramento, and I've done really nothing but volunteer for schools the whole time, and very, very, very grateful for my job at Bancroft the last 10 years in resource, piano lab, and now the 3 years of second grade. And Mr. Enrique Flores, who's Victoria Flores' husband, was our principal for years, and he was very, very supportive of Mrs. Tepley, and her job shares had been all the other principals before this current one. And I just want to say she's a fantastic teacher, and we make a good team, and we do save the district money because I'm on the very extremely low end of the pay scale, and I don't take benefits, and we work so hard to just make a wonderful program. And as you can see, not all of our students were able to attend tonight from the 2 second grades, but we do a wonderful program which is going to be on June 1st at 6:30 at Bancroft, and you're all welcome to come. And we inspire the children to learn through music. We teach piano, I teach piano, drumline, and all kinds of songs, and whatever I can do. I use my whole family to come in and teach art. I have a very artistic family. My daughter comes in and teaches music. She's a Sac High graduate from 2003, along with my vein. We're a Sacramento family, and I just hope that you'll please consider letting us keep our job share. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Connie Steinman, and I'm at Hiram Johnson High School. I teach American Sign Language. Mr. Kirkland, our principal, he's closing down sign language, and so ASL 1 is not on the course selection sheet this year, but for ASL 2 and 3, he and two other VPs approached me during my prep, and they told me that I could either teach all 9th grade English or surplus myself to another school to teach ASL and English 12. And I told him I have seniority because I've been here for 17 and a half years. And I told him my students who are in ASL 1 now, they're sophomores and juniors, they had the right to take the second and third year of sign language for college. And some of the parents have called me, very concerned about their sons and daughters going to college with 2 years or more of the same language. I have a tally from the counselors of how many students would like ASL 2 and 3. My students started a petition with like almost 200 signatures of students who want ASL.
ASL 2 and 3 or ASL in general?
ASL in general.
And how many students do you know have completed ASL 1 that would be looking to take ASL 2 and 3?
51 for ASL 2 and 15 for ASL 3 so far.
Thank you.
And then, and I wrote a letter to Mr. Kirkland clarifying what he said, and he just basically said, I'll get back with you. And I did send Mr. Aguilar a letter too back in March, explaining the situation of how important ASL is. And
Hi, my name is Andrea Vasquez, and I'm a junior in ASL 1. And
I would not like the classes to be taken away because as a special ed student, it is a really an easy language to pick up really fast because there's not most of the language that we have at our school are still hard either way. If you know the language and you grew up speaking it, it's still hard to like get it through your head and focus on it. I should know. But it's like a safe spot for every other special ed student that's in there because I'm not just the only one. And I know that for freshmen next year that are also in special ed, I know that they would want to take it. Also, when I was signing up to go to Johnson my freshman year, I was told that there was sign language, but I did not see it on the roster to sign up for your classes. So that made me a little concerned. So that's why I had to take it as a junior because they just told me that it was on the roster.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your commentary.
Did you want the petition?
Please feel free to submit it. Yes, thank you.
Hello, my name is Olivia Hernandez. I'm a freshman at Hiram Johnson High School, and recently I have been pulled into to the counseling office to choose my classes for next year. And I was really upset when I didn't see ASL 1 on there because for a while I've been like really looking forward to taking it and learning the language so I could communicate with Ms. Steinman and most of my friends that do take it. When I found out that they wouldn't be having ASL 1, I was very upset, and I just really wanted to be here next year.
Thank you both students for sharing your stories tonight. We appreciate it. Thank you. Do we have any other public comment?
End of public comment.
Okay. Do we have the students' names submitted for the record for public comment as well?
Yes, we do.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We're moving on to item 9.0. Oh, sorry. Oh, looks like Board Member Hansen has a comment.
I wanted to make sure I had my comments at the appropriate time, so responding to some of the folks who wanted to make a statement, I thought it was important for me to have a statement as well. I guess I'll just say that I've heard from other teachers who are saddened by the conduct of some of their fellow teachers at McClatchy, regrettably. From other teachers at other schools who are saddened by the conduct of their union leadership. And, all of them feel saddened by the fact that some teachers in the SCTA seem to put the importance of their actions above the actions and the content for our students. And so when we let the school start being about the adults, we're going down the wrong road. And that seems like what's happening more and more here. The written comments that were passed out to us earlier talk about a particular teacher. He's named in here, Tim Douglas, saying on September 25th to our black principal, Peter Lambert, when another administrator was with him, standing with him, saying to the white guy, "Is he your master?" to the black principal. And then on November 30th, the same teacher saying, "You colored people," to a black principal and a black administrator. You can make your own judgments about how those comments sound to you. Instead of focusing on talking about that, we're talking about other things. It seems to me it could be a diversionary tactic. I don't know why we're even spending time on this instead of talking about increasing graduation rates, instead of focusing on students taking summer class so they can have a chance to do A through G completion. Those are the things that are important to me, and I think to the vast majority of people who are here. The SCTA leadership, according to these documents that were passed out, refused to be interviewed, as did the teacher, when the report was being done. Why would they not participate in that? That's a mystery. I hope that changes. I understand it may be changing. Why are we spending time talking about this? There's 2,500 students at McClatchy High School that we should be focused on them getting an education and not trying to tear people down. It's a mystery to me. I've been on this board for 6 years. So many good things are happening at that school, so many positive things. That's what I'd like to see us focusing on and working on. And I hope that we can refocus our attention on our students and put aside the sometimes antics of the adults, and for all of us to be good role models to our students. I think they deserve it, and that's what we should be focused on.
Okay, with that, we're closing out public comment on to item 9.0, board workshop / strategic plan and other initiatives. Item 9.1, the 2018-2019 first draft of the local control and accountability plan, which will be presented by our staff members, Vincent Harris and Kathy Morrison.
Good evening, Board President Ryan, board members, and Superintendent Aguilar. It's my pleasure this evening to present with Kathy Morrison the first draft of the local control and accountability plan. Over the next series of slides, we'll give you some context to the work, and then Kathy will take you into the details as they stand right now. But of course, we're looking forward to engaging with our stakeholders over the next month or so. So as you know, the local control accountability plan really breaks into 4 big overarching goals, really around college, career, and life-ready graduates, the notion of building safe environments for our students, empowering our family and community, and operational excellence. All of our work is anchored in disrupting our core value. And so, as we think about the work of the LCAP and what our LCAP will become for our students and community, we know that it will directly address some of the inequities in our system, and we'll look to systematically correct them. And so it speaks to the power of our core value in terms of making sure that we look to interrupt inequities to level the playing field. One of the key strategic preconditions for that is our equity, access, and social justice guiding principle. And so you'll see, particularly as we refine the LCAP over this next month, opportunities to see how things come to life in terms of creating the greatest number of post-secondary choices from the widest array of options. So we've talked a lot about this over the course of the school year, and we're still operationalizing it to a large degree, but we recognize that to really make the work effective and sustainable, we really need to integrate our existing artifacts in our system. And so this month, our sites have just completed their site planning process. That will directly support the LCAP development process. And then all of this will be informed by our Performance and Targeted Action Index. And then summatively, we'll see all of these things then reflected in the budget proposal that you'll see coming in June. And so this is really the work of the whole school year. This is actually an opportunity for us to bring this work together in a systemic and strategic way so that you can see how the LCAP, our site plans, and then budget are all synchronized, but fully wrapped around our equity, access, and social justice theory of change. This graphic continues to really be one way that we anchor our work. And so you heard in last board meeting, we really spoke to the tenant feature of it. The LCAP, of course, will feature the notion of not just the tenants coming together, but this notion of really extending and interrupting the tenants working together very collaboratively so that we can create endless opportunities for our students and really make the guiding principle come to life. So in terms of the basic timing of our development process, you'll see, as Kathy shared with you previously in the LCAP update, we're basically following the guidance from the County Office of Education. We basically are coming to you now with the first draft. Really the intensive work of the next month will be to get feedback and refine. And then, of course, as we build towards the actual budget adoption that will take place in June, where, again, we'll bring together the LCAP, but also what is surfaced in our site planning process through our SIPSAs. And then, of course, all of that will be anchored in the budgets. And then, of course, our submission to SCOE, or Sacramento County Office of Education, on July 1st. So in terms of this integration, really the timetable is really, as I mentioned previously, end of April was kind of an important milestone for all of our site planning. Now we're actually, as a central office team, looking to make coherence checks in terms of the site plans submitted, and then really making sure those site plans are anchored in student data, student needs, and then looking to make sure we can bring full alignment with our SIPSAs to district LCAP goals, and then building capacity to then do ongoing monitoring to make sure that we're tracking for success. And then obviously then all of this work will be, again, manifested in our budget development process. So with that, I'll turn it over to Kathy now, and she'll take you through the actual details of our LCAP at this point in the process.
Good evening, Board President Ryan, board members, and Superintendent Aguilar. I am Kathy Morrison, the LCAP and SIPSA coordinator, and tonight we are releasing the first draft of the 2018-19 LCAP, which is the second year in the three-year plan. The goals in the LCAP are comprised of metrics, actions, and expenditures. So we would like to detail some proposed modifications to each goal. For Goal 1, in support of college, career, and life-ready graduates, we have added an action to represent the expanded learning summer program. Funding is also provided for staff who work with students in the areas of English language arts, mathematics, and improving English language development. For Goal 2, in support of student engagement, the biggest investment is funding for before and after school programs. This funding is in the LCAP in anticipation of grant funding that has not yet been received. For Goal 3, the family and community empowerment action, we are not modifying any of the existing actions, but we are proposing to revise 2 of the metrics. We propose to set a more modest target for DLAC attendance and for home visits. With regard to home visits, the district is now flagging home visits in the student information system, and this will enable us to establish a new baseline and in the future establish student outcomes with home visits. In Goal 4, operational excellence, the district is enhancing the actions. A portion of supplemental and concentration funds are allocated for a staff member who will provide data dashboard reporting to support the district and school sites to monitor and analyze student progress. In order to further develop customer service standards and provide leadership toward a positive complaint resolution system, a director of constituent services is being added. So as we have said, the first draft LCAP is posted online for community review and feedback prior to the June 7th public hearing. Because the full document stands right now at 170 pages, we have also posted it in sections so that interested parties can read the sections they are most interested in. The next LCAP draft, as stated, will include updated metrics, budget, and expenditures. Tonight, I want to take a moment to acknowledge the members of the LCAP Parent Advisory Committee who have been working throughout the year learning and discussing the components of the LCAP. I just want to thank them for coming. Our next meeting is May 14th, and the committee will begin to write their comments for the superintendent to read on the draft, on their perception of the draft LCAP, and we anticipate those comments will be provided to the superintendent and board prior to May 31st. The district plans many opportunities for the community to provide feedback. In addition to the LCAP feedback survey and the work of the LCAP PAC, the graduation task force will have an opportunity to weigh in and evaluate where their recommendations intersect with the district's need. I want to briefly highlight upcoming workshops that are being held in our area on the LCAP and dashboard. Tony Tinker is a member of the Black Parallel School Board and also the LCAP Parent Advisory Committee. She has been working with the California Collaborative for Educational Excellence over this year to create a parent-friendly workshop. And Tony will be offering these workshops in May, and the district is very pleased to be working in partnership with this community group. So to wrap up, now that our school plans have been completed, we are beginning to read them in order to categorize the LCFF activities and to include those expenditures and actions in the LCAP. The second draft of the LCAP will be provided for the June 7th public hearing, with the adoption to follow 2 weeks later, and submission to county office within 5 days of adoption. So we will pause now for public comment and questions.
Okay, it looks like Alex is coming back. Do we have any public comment on this item?
Yes, we have 5 public comments. If you could line up when you hear your name. Liz Guillen, John Perryman, Karen Sweat, Tony Tinker, and Angie Sutherland.
And as our public commenters line up, I want to thank Tony for taking the lead on our parent education workshops and congratulate her on her engagement.
Good evening, board members, superintendent. I'm Liz Guillen with Public Advocates. I have to say that Kathy Morrison always improves on this, and this year is no different. So the LCAP just gets better and better. And what I also like is that Kathy reaches out to community to check on different aspects of the LCAP. Having said that, I'm sorry to see that Kathy is still pretty much doing it on her own. I think she does have some staff, but not very much. And I think that is a big problem for the district in that it tends to get siloed. And it really needs to be part of the continuous improvement process that every department, every leader in the district needs to be thinking about. So for example, just at the school site level, we know that there will be funds sent down to school sites specifically for the school site councils to address. Kathy correctly states part of the rule around school site use of supplemental and concentration dollars. If 40% or more of the students at the school site are unduplicated, in other words, low-income English learners and foster youth, those funds have to be principally directed and effective in meeting the needs of those students. If that percentage of students at the school is less than, that standard is higher. It's almost like a targeted use. Principally directed and most effective. And so that's the kind of alignment that really needs to happen. It's great that there is a push for alignment that is required under LCFF, and it's good to see that happening. I'll be talking more with Kathy and the LCAP about our concerns and probably in writing. Thanks.
Thank you, Liz. We appreciate your thoughtful comments.
Completely familiar with these dock cams. How do I make it work?
And let's pause the clock until we get that working. No problem. And I'm not familiar with it either, so don't worry about it.
Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen of the board, thanks for listening to me. I'm John Perryman, a Sacramento citizen and a teacher at Luther Burbank High School. I'm sort of jumping the gun on public comment on the LCAP draft plan because I'm concerned about philosophy. This statement appears at the start, and it is legally correct, that you have the option of using supplemental and concentration grant monies for district-wide expenditures. But as I track the effect of that at a 100% targeted population like at Luther Burbank High School, the effect is significant. So I made a graph using school site plans of how much money we've been receiving from categorical. Probably can't read the graph again, not so great at that thing. But you can see a direct downward trend. in the money that we receive. Now, this graph is deceptive for a couple reasons. It doesn't include centralized spending. A lot of that money is spent centrally, but I have no way to tell whether it reaches my students. We have about 1,800 students out of a population of 41,000, 68% targeted. We should be receiving somewhere around here, about 2.6 million in services to our student population. I can only document 500,000. I can't tell. So those centralized services, psychologists and social workers, might be very effective. Can't tell from anything in district documentation whether my kids receive it. That's also where the philosophy hits. It's also possible that money is being shifted to wealthier students in wealthy neighborhoods because you're spending it district-wide. Now, the other reason this graph is deceptive, we're getting more money, primarily from an increase in Title I funds. And I saw shifts up there in the plan. If you're eliminating centralized spending in Title I money, that's a good thing. If you're giving us more Title I money by taking it from other poor kids, that's the wrong thing to do.
Thank you. I appreciate your comments. Ms. Sweat.
Thank you. Karen Sweat, Making Sense Work. The LCAP that was on the board agenda is primarily made up of LCFF base, SUP, and cons, and Title I, and a SIG grant. In addition and beyond that, there are 118 little pots of money, and some of them are not so little. And I went through and looked at all of them. About 32 of them dovetail. They work with the same activities that are currently in the LCAP and could be in the LCAP. And it seems to me that the LCAP committee should look at all of the revenue in the general fund and consider using some of these other pots of money, and I would be happy to help with that.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sweat. We appreciate your time.
Good evening. I'm very happy to have worked on with CCEE to bring these parent engagement forward for LCAP and for the workshops to make sure that parents are engaged. However, I do not want these to be used as parent engagement for feedback about this LCAP. The parents that I'm going to be working with are at the bottom level of their knowledge of an LCAP. They don't even know that an LCAP, a dashboard, exists. We are going to be starting from level A, 101. This actually exists. The other thing is that I thoroughly look at the LCAP because that's part of what you've asked me to do as a parent. And as a parent of Black children, I still don't see my children reflected in the dollars that are being spent. While we talk about aligning the SIPSAs together, a lot of times those sites don't even know what their children need to begin with. They're putting kids in the back of the room. We're still talking about why did the Black kids sit in the back of the room in the schools? So how is it that they are going to tell you what needs to be done and what needs to be aligned when they themselves don't know? The only things that I want to make very clear in this LCAP is that I push hard for this district to do the right things. I think we have a good superintendent who is pushing us in the right directions. I think you're listening to the community, but still looking outside of the community. These came from inside of your community because I pushed and I talked and I didn't stop talking until somebody did something and helped me to do that. I did a book for this district highlighting summer schools and freedom schools in this district, and nobody helped me but CBOs. So I think that you really need to think about your dollars in your LCAP and look at from within and look at the things that really need to be tracked for these dollars, because we're still not seeing our children reflected in those dollars.
Thank you, Ms. Tinker. Ms. Sutherland.
Hello, everyone. I'm Angie Sutherland. I'm a parent in the district. And I also want to thank Kathy and Tony and Karen for the work that they're doing to bring transparency and information to parents. Kathy just emailed me. I haven't looked everything over yet because it's a very long document. But I did do a lot of analysis myself on students with disabilities and how, as it's mentioned in the LCAP, there's several red areas in the state. There's also statewide indicators that have not been met. And I didn't see in the infographic that's on the website for the LCAP, students with disabilities aren't even mentioned in the infographic. I know they're not one of the unduplicated groups, but they're still part of the LCAP. So I have been making my own infographic, and I just wanted to highlight some of the very low areas and areas not met. The College and Career Readiness Indicator on the school dashboard indicates only 1.8% of students with disabilities met this proficiency out of 6,000 plus students. Very low graduation rate, a significant decline in the four-year graduation rate, only 58.3%. Also, the increased suspension rate, it should be going down and not going up. It increased to 10.4. Achievement in language arts, I'm referring to the annual performance report measures, which are from 2015-16, so they're a little older, but not met. Math, not met. Students in separate schools for least restrictive environment, not met. All preschool outcomes are well below state targets, not met. Children from birth to 2 who come into special education, not met in
And
their
would you
assessments.
submit that
Mhm.
infographic and those
I
statistics that
will.
you're sharing this evening?
And
if
then
you can please.
appropriate secondary transition goals and services for youth, not met. Low post-school outcomes, that's the number of students that are either in higher education or competitively employed after high school, not met.
Thank you, Angie. I appreciate your comments.
I request that the district please include this kind of information on the school the dashboard.
Thank you, Angie. I appreciate that. At this time, we're going to take comments and questions from board members. I want to begin with a couple questions of my own that I have that speak specifically to some comments that were raised by both Tony Tinker and Angie Sutherland. Earlier, in a conversation I had with our superintendent and board members, I expressed some grave concerns around the lack of progress that we've seen and intentionality and focus on meeting the needs of our special education population and our African American population, recognizing that they are the lowest performing subgroups in Sac City Unified, and that we have data that shows that while we have not only not met graduation rates as they have increased across the state, we have seen the most really troubling states of decline for our special education student population and our African American student population. So I would like to know in this LCAP draft plan how specifically we are targeting resources for those two subgroups that are by all measures slipping through the cracks.
And Kathy, correct me if I'm wrong, we're still putting things in. So I think to your point, Board Member President Ryan, that's something we'll take back as feedback to make sure that that's incorporated, because we don't have a specific plan necessarily developed at this stage of the front end of the process.
Has that been a focal area, though, of what you
Yes.
were looking at, including in what we get sent to us next as the drafts take shape?
I wanted to share that. In particular, those groups have caused our district to be identified for technical assistance, and we have begun to look at the disparities and identifying the problem areas in the plan summary. So that's one piece that is done, but the actual plan is being developed.
So I know that we have some staff expertise, but we also have some real community expertise on the LCAP Parent Advisory Committee. I would love to see that utilized to full capacity, and I don't want any surprises at our next board meeting on this LCAP. I would like to share that it's not just my interest, but the will of the board that we see a very strategic focus that shows real direction towards addressing the needs of those student subgroups.
And we're in concurrence with you, Board President Ryan. I will mention that, one of the ways we're trying to be intentional is actually the Grad Task Force in its spring work has actually called out targeted subgroups, foster youth, special education students, and African American students. And so as we look at the Graduation Task Force recommendations, that's actually another place where we're getting community voice about targeting those subgroups.
Wonderful. I'd also like to see the infographic adjusted to figure out a way to address some of the feedback we received today. We have a question or comment from Board Member Vice President Wu.
Board Member and Vice President. Thank you. To piggyback on President Ryan's comments, I see modifications made to the goals, and they anticipate particular outcomes. For example, looking at Goal 1, the Expanded Learning Summer Program, we've heard a lot about that. We are enrolling 4,300 students this summer for the Expanded Learning Program, Summer Learning Program, and we're expecting outcomes. What we don't have is, and I see that, we're spending $2.5 million from our general fund and almost $2 million from LCFF, is part of the, thank you, a part of the purpose of the LCFF money is to identify targeted groups and then also identify expected outcomes. And what I haven't seen yet is, while we're making these modifications and we're identifying money for it, I don't see an articulation of how much of that money will go to targeted groups. So that's kind of piggyback to what Member Ryan has articulated. But even more so, what do we expect as the expected outcome? Because that will end up on our dashboard, whether or not we get a blue or a green or a yellow or a red or orange. So I'd like to see that as we move forward as well. Thank you.
Any other board member comments? Okay. Thank you so much. There are none. We appreciate your time and your hard work. We're moving on to item 9.2. So I guess, Vincent, you get a chance to stay up here with us a bit longer. An update on SAT Day administration, which will be done by yourself and
Curry Hanson Smith is joining me, not so much for the full presentation, but she's actually led the work with the PSAT Day. And so depending on some of your questions, there may be an opportunity to talk about both. This is a relatively short presentation because we're just simply giving you some of the highlights. But I think what's important about this presentation is there's really two, I'll say, big slides in it that speak to some of the pipeline work, which really ties to the work that Kari's led in terms of really using things like the PSAT, SAT as ways to really get into deeper conversations and really tying back to your earlier comments, Board President Ryan, about how are we going to really change conditions for students in terms of enabling all of our students to be successful. And so I'll take you briefly through the SAT Day as a point of seeing an idea come to life within the district, but there's definitely more to come. And so Kari is with me really just to give an opportunity to respond to maybe to some technical questions, but actually we'll be back potentially before the end of the school year to actually give you even more of a pipeline conversation as we're bringing to life these important tests for our students and really utilizing them as a way to monitor and then effectively build their capacities to be grade level ready and then obviously be college and career ready. So with that, I'll just jump into the presentation. And again, we covered this in the prior presentation. I think it's always important to come back to it because ultimately SAT Day is an important milestone in really how do we interrupt inequities in our system. And so the notion of actually giving the SAT to all of our 11th grade students is actually a very big idea and very disruptive. And I'll share a few slides that I think will bring that to home to a large degree. The role of these higher education exams, obviously there's multiple ways in which they support students. Certainly in terms of college readiness, reducing barriers, reinforcing this notion of the greatest array of options after high school. And certainly as we use it within our system, it allows us to build a college-going pipeline in terms of using those results to really deconstruct and better understand how our students are performing, but also using it as an opportunity of a cycle of continuous improvement for the district itself, for us to reflect, particularly where our students demonstrate gaps. Briefly, this slide is meant to just give a summative view of both the SAT and ACT, because in this context, we kind of are agnostic in that we look at both exams as both opportunities for our students to demonstrate college readiness. As you'll see from the slide, there's obviously some differences between the two, but in the broadest sense, they both are recognized nationally as very important ways in which students are able to demonstrate their readiness, if you will, for the college experience. So our purpose of our SAT day, and this is where we come back to the core value, come back to how do we interrupt inequities in our system. One thing is ensuring all of our juniors in attendance that day took the SAT, providing the SAT at no cost. I mean, obviously, you'll see in a moment, obviously, as a district, there was a cost, but for the students and their families, there was no cost, and then actually activating those results. And so you can see the last two bullets refer to opportunities with the Khan Academy, and then also, ultimately, College Board itself as a partner was able to give us resources in terms of 2 or 3 additional times, and the waiver in terms of sending scores to the students' preferred colleges and universities. So the basic logistics of the day were actually pretty involved. And again, Kari can kind of give you the historical perspective as we've done this with the PSAT. But this is really an important slide simply because it recognizes, and ultimately really the front and center, just how much effort within our system went into play to make SAT Day come to life. And really our sites carried a significant amount of the work in terms of changing bell schedules, making sure we had appropriate coverage, and then also from a central office perspective, there were several roles, several departments that played a strategic role in terms of making sure that the SAT Day was implemented with fidelity. And then obviously you can see here in terms of communicating with our parents, and then just the basic logistics of making sure that our students had, could show that, be ready with their best selves, if you will, in terms of the nutritional aspect as well. In terms of the overview, this just gives you the vital facts in terms of the time required. As we think about the SAT Day in terms of what's next, students actually will start receiving some of the results May 3rd, and then as a district, by May 11th, we'll actually have an opportunity to start looking through the results as well. This gives us an opportunity, again, come back to the pipeline conversation, use that data to inform opportunities for us as a system to reflect and support our students. This is probably ultimately the most important slide in the presentation for this evening, because what it attempts to do is demonstrate the impact of what SAT Day can mean for our students. And so you'll see it disaggregates 2 grade levels of SAT course taking 12th graders and 11th graders. As you look to the far right, you can see that basically at the end of the junior year of our current 12th graders, about 19% had an SAT score. As you look at, our seniors this year, about 41% have an existing SAT score. The promise of an SAT Day is that we really are looking to shift that number to something that's, much more significant. Obviously the greatest aspiration is 100%, but when we look at this slide next year, the affirmation will be we'll see a substantial percentage increase in terms of our next year's seniors having an SAT score because of the opportunity that SAT Day provided. And that's really the disruptive element of what this SAT Day means for our students, and ultimately gives us a lot more information as we think about target populations of students, special education students, African American students, foster students, English learner students. We will have more information about all of our students. And it's important to note with our SAT Day, there were accommodations given for special education students. So as we think about student success, there were extended time opportunities and other accommodations given for special education students. And then also for English learner students, there are some language supports as well in terms of the testing directions. And so recognizing that in doing this, we know that one approach doesn't fit all. And so we definitely were very in tune with best practice in terms of accommodations for our students. We'll send those slides to you. Something went wrong.
It's okay.
But we will send that information. Basically, those slides you got them on your. All right, perfect. So you all have it in your presentation. I apologize to the public. Basically, what those slides were meant to do was just show the opportunity. I think this really does come back to the ongoing direction from the board, is that there is no filter to a large degree for the students taking the SAT day. We had off-track students, we had subject borderline students. To the board's point, and we definitely hear you in terms of the LCAP, we'll be looking to make all student groups visible, but SAT Day was one of those things that we did apply across the board to all of our student groups. So it wasn't just for the students who are on track, it wasn't just for subject borderline, it wasn't, off-track students weren't excluded. Those slides were meant to affirm this notion that in terms of disrupting inequities in our system, the first stage in access is making sure there's an element of access for all. And basically those were disaggregated views of access for all. And so with that, I'll end there. But there's a promise here that I think is really important for us as a system to continue to cultivate. And then again, we'll be back to talk about how these testing results actually will inform the pipeline of success for our students going forward.
Wonderful. At this time, we're going to take public comment. Do we have any public comment on this item?
No public comment.
Do we have any board member comment? Board member Minnick.
Thank you, President Ryan. Thank you so much for this information. And I have heard from so many parents of juniors in high school about how what a big deal this was for them. And these were parents who were, highly engaged, had every intention of paying and sending their kids there. But it made their life easier. It gave another opportunity for their kid to take the SAT. So I can only imagine the kind of impact it's going to have on all those kids that weren't going to be taking it. So I really appreciate that, and I want to make sure that that I'm hearing about this out there. So I'm really excited. So my question is, because you may have said this, and maybe I just misunderstood. On page 8, or slide 8, the chart that we had here, the center of the graph, that's what happened this year.
So the center is our current seniors and the percentage of them that have an SAT score. So because the SAT
because it was
for
administered
juniors,
to 11th graders.
Exactly. So the promise is that 41% will be dramatically different next year.
Gotcha. So that's what those seniors this year are. 41% of those seniors
have an SAT
current
score.
Seniors,
current seniors
took the SAT sometime between
right
now. Okay, so
between
theoretically, in a perfect world, as we administer it across the board, 100% of seniors next year will have taken it because they took it this year when we offered it.
Yeah.
Okay,
and that's really the promise of the work that Kari has led with the PSAT, with our 10th graders. So it's really recognizing that promise of getting almost all of our students.
Cool. I just wanted to make sure I understood that correctly. Thanks for everything.
Looks like we have a board member question from board member Hanson.
Yeah, just quickly, what's the cost to the district? I wasn't clear how.
About $114,000.
Okay. Seems very reasonable. Okay. Good.
So I had a couple questions and comments. Obviously, I'm very excited about this. In my day job, working for the Campaign for College Opportunity, much of what we're doing is providing support to students to remove barriers to college access and student success. I'm interested in how you are correlating the SAT test results and the ACT test results to helping to identify and remedy the barriers to college readiness for students. So how are you then taking those results and, implementing academic interventions to address deficiencies?
I'll start, and if you want to add, feel free. Actually, in partnership with College Board, they actually have done a lot of work around this notion of AP potential. And so they've given us some tools and some ideas around the strategies of how to use the test to frame conversations for students. And more importantly, it's more that backward mapping about helping us profile students who potentially could be high achieving with the appropriate level of course taking patterns. And so that's where this really becomes part of the conversation of, how do we build a pipeline for students to be successful? But I think also related to your question, there is an element of our College Futures Foundation partnership where we actually can talk more with our higher ed partners and share more specific data points. This being one of them where we can actually do more deconstruction, which now we can maybe take a profile of a student who is successful at, let's say, a Sacramento State and backwards map kind of their experience based looking at their SAT score and then looking at their curricular experience and say, so what were the opportunities, both for students who are scoring high and students who are scoring low? So I think there's lots of opportunities to execute the question you're asking, and we're still learning about them currently.
So, and you're saying in part because of the data sharing agreement we've executed, this will make it even more seamless. That's wonderful. I do want to just point out something that Board Member Minnick said that I think is really important in this conversation, which was that he had heard from several parents that were excited this made it easier, but they were likely to have paid for the SAT or ACT test for their child anyway. And I liken this very much to also free community college. I appreciate the intention of offering it free of charge to everyone, and this is a very modest investment, but really that's equality versus equity, and how do we ensure that we are closing opportunity gaps and providing additional supports to the students who wouldn't have the parents providing those opportunities otherwise. And so I would argue after this testing, those student populations are the student populations that would be most likely to undermatch based on not having filled out the FAFSA form, et cetera. And so what we're doing to be intentional and do a deeper dive with that student population results in true equity. And while I'm very grateful and excited by this, I want to see that intentionality and focus with that equity mandate that we've been putting forth under the superintendent's leadership.
And to your point, Board President Ryan, we actually have a set of metrics and indicators specifically measuring kind of the milestones in the college going experience, FAFSA being one of them, making sure that as we work with our students, we are looking at their schedules to make sure they're optimizing opportunities. So that's a really important point.
Thank you. We appreciate your hard work, and we're excited to see this grow into the future. Moving on to item 9.3, the update on elementary school athletic programs, which will be presented by Doug Hoosier and Greg Purcell.
All right, good evening, Board President Ryan, Superintendent Aguilar, members of the board. My name is Doug Husher, Assistant Superintendent of Student Services, and I am pleased to have Greg Purcell, our District Athletic Director, joining us tonight. As you might know, our AD, John Smith, retired in January, did a great job serving our district. Greg came along in September, started learning from him, and then in January assumed his new role. He's very much flourished in that role, really been impressed with his looking at his vision toward athletics, collaboration, and really developing a proposal tonight that's very, very thoughtful. This proposal really builds on skill development of all kids, engagement and healthy living, and developing a sense of teamwork. And these are all attributes we know that contribute to a whole child. And so we're excited to talk about the possibility of bringing organized football, basketball, running to all of our elementary students. Greg's done an amazing job forming partnerships here. He's brought part of his entourage with him tonight, and you'll be introduced to them. But the partnerships are really amazing and are going to be largely successful, in my opinion, or it's going to be the reason for the success, in my opinion. And so at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Greg to share more.
Thank you, Doug. Good evening, Board President Ryan, Superintendent Aguilar, board members. It's great to be here. I'm Greg Purcell, the Athletic Director in Sac City School District, and we're going to share with you the proposed elementary school athletic program for students grades 1 through 6. In keeping with our core values and guiding principles, our overreaching theme for the program is to reach all 20,300 elementary school students grades 1 through 6 next school year. We want students to actively participate in the athletic program and grow and prosper from that. Next slide is our equity and access and social justice. Oh, did you do that? Okay, I do that. Those of you who know me know I'm not really technologically savvy. So the goal is really just to positively impact not only our schools, but their respective communities. Okay, get to the right slide. More. Okay. So in November, Superintendent Aguilar, he shared his vision of developing an elementary school sports program. One goal was to reach as many students as possible and to create as many opportunities as possible for our kids. A comprehensive, sustainable athletic program for those students grades 1 through 6. So this has never been done in our district. This is historic. I was an elementary school student and an employee of Sac City, so I've been around a little bit, and this is a historic initiative that we're very excited about kicking off. Philosophically, to create continuity from the classroom to the athletic field, connecting and the collaborative learning approach in the classroom to well-designed athletic programs will help students develop skills for positive social interactions and motivation to excel. The goal to develop a viable and sustainable athletic program for students in grades 1 through 6, we want fitness to be a culture piece in Sac City School District. We do that by promoting a healthy lifestyle, encouraging student participation, teaching goal setting, teach fair play and competition, teach students the connection between fun and fitness. What we know, some data points. Those students who score highly on California's Fitness Gram Index score twice as well as standardized tests compared to their unfit peers. Children's ages 7 through 11 who exercise a minimum of 40 minutes a day had greater academic achievement than those students who exercise 20 minutes or less, from the Journal of Sport and Exercise Psychology. The health implications are even more staggering. 30% of American children ages 6 to 19 are overweight or obese, a number that has tripled in the last 30 years. And for the first time in history, children born today have a life expectancy lower than their parents. So it's time to get moving. So our program activities. We've decided to come up with, to propose 2 after-school activities. The Coed flag football program, it's for boys and girls grades 4 through 6. It's an after-school program that will take place on Wednesday afternoons. I'll explain a little bit about that more as we go through. And then an after-school basketball program for 4th through 6th grade co-ed students. The third piece is a program called Stride. Sac City tracks running to improve daily education, and that will occur during our school day on campus at lunchtime and potentially in PE classes throughout the day. So in order to scale this out to 51 schools next fall, we partnered with 2 very respected organizations in our city. They're going to play a vital role in the program implementation and the success of the program. Those organizations are the Sacramento Runners Association and the City of Sacramento Youth Parks and Community Enrichment Department. Our parents, our school site staff, and our students will also have a role in being partners in this program. Let me introduce the representatives and organizations who will be here tonight and help us implementing the program. From the Sacramento Runners Association is Executive Director Scott Abbott, please stand, and Assistant Executive Director Ellen Moore. Ellen is one of our Sac City parents as well. From the City of Sacramento, we've had 3 people that we've been working with, 2 that couldn't be here tonight, Kim Moeller and Shannon Brown, but Erica Kashiri, who's been very instrumental in getting us started with this. She's works in the mayor's office, and we're going to partner with her and get some students out of the 1,000 Strong program to help support the program as well. So Erica is going to be another vital partner. The city is also helping us to staff this with 6 ambassadors and 2 commissioners that are going to oversee the implementation and support of the program. You'll understand the rules a little bit better as we go through the presentation, but I'd really like to introduce them as well. The gentleman who's going to oversee our flag football program is another community member, has children at Kennedy High School. He's Anthony Jones, the Commissioner of Flag Football. And Stephen Bunch, who was a student of mine at Susan B. Anthony Elementary School back in the day. He's a Bobcat. Stephen will be the commissioner of our basketball program. Then within that, we as you'll see how we divided the district up into our 6 divisions, we have also ambassadors who are community members in Sac City products as well, and they were going to support the program throughout the district. One is Omar Turner. He'll be in the West Campus area. Jeff Nash. He's not only Kennedy, I think he's a Kennedy alumni. He's going to be in the Kennedy area. Gary Birdsong couldn't make it tonight, though. He's the assistant baseball coach. He's a retired UC Davis graduate, and he's assistant baseball coach at Burbank. He's going to take the Burbank area. And Antoine Simmons. Antoine is going to be in our Hiram Johnson area, and he does some coaching with Sac City already. We're still looking for 2 ambassadors for our Rosemont and C.K. McClatchy area. We have some people that we're going to be connecting with, but I know when we met with our principals yesterday, they're going to share some ideas also about getting those people on board. So we've decided on the 3 sports, the flag football, the basketball, and the running. And then the big challenge is how do we scale this out to 51 schools all at once? Well, we had a discussion with our 6 high school athletic directors and our 2 elementary PE prep teachers. And we came up with the creation of 6 divisions that are aligned in their high school feeder pattern. So as you see on this slide, if you are an elementary school student in the McClatchy area, you're in the Lions division, and you're going to compete with those schools and participate in that division there. If you're a feeder school into the Kennedy pattern, then you're going to be in the Cougar division. Hiram Johnson, you're the Warrior division for those feeder elementary schools, and so on. So within those 6 divisions, we've assigned each one of these gentlemen as an ambassador just to work with those school sites, those principals, those parents, those students on providing the initial support. So there will be 1 ambassador with each area. And then working with the city and Erica's program, 1,000 Strong, they're going to allow us to have 2 students, 2 high school students who are Sac City kids. They'll be working in those areas. So we'll have a 3-pronged approach in 6 areas. So when you look at 51 schools, now we've narrowed it to a group of people supporting 8 or 9 schools at a time, so it's much more attainable, and success is going to be that much better. So that's the structure, what it looks like. Let me tell you a little bit about the Coed flag football program. The objective being they're learning to play a team activity, teaching the value of fair play and competition, demonstrating good sportsmanship and teamwork, add positive value to a school culture, and to teach a healthy lifestyle. How do we implement that? So I'm partnering with the City of Sacramento and our 6 ambassadors and our 12,000 strong students. They'll provide that support. All games will be played Wednesday after school. And within each division, what we're going to try to do is make it easy for parents to access it, is there'll just be 2 sites in each division. They're not going to go from school to school. We're identifying fields that are in good shape, and all the games for flag football will be played in 2 locations only. So they know I only need to get 1 or 2 places each Wednesday. Season timeline, we're looking to start the season September 26th and November 14th. The league is accessible to all 4th and 6th graders. Number of students we hope to impact are 1,275 students. Schools will identify coaches. We will purchase 25 jerseys for each elementary school, provide the referees and all of the equipment. All coaches will be trained in the Positive Coaching Alliance, which is a national organization. And we're going to provide security from our school district campus monitors for all the activities. At the end of the season, we'll invite you to the city championship game under the lights at Kennedy High School.
Love it.
Oh, yeah, here's a potential jersey. So you're in the Cougar division. So you're Matsuyama And then the Cougar division, we may redesign this a little bit, but that's the concept, the school name and then the division. So if you're a Kennedy student in elementary school, I want to grow up to be a Cougar, I want to be a Titan, I want to be a Lion. That's what we're tracking them towards. So the objective for basketball, very similar to our flag football, about learning to be part of a team activity, fair play, and competition. Again, the implementation piece, partnering with the city, our ambassadors, commissioners, organizing it. Games will be played after school on Wednesdays at one of two middle schools in each area. So not only will they learn the area of where they're going to go to high school, but the middle schools will host the elementary games in that respective area. Season timeline, again, we're looking at February 13th through the 10th. League is accessible to 4th and 6th graders. Number of students we hope to affect are 800 kids will participate in this program. Again, schools will identify the coaches. We will train them through the Positive Coaching Alliances. We're going to buy 15 jerseys for every school, provide the referees and security for the games, and then we'll invite you to the city championship at one of our high schools at the end of the season. The STRIDE program is sponsored by Sacramento Runners Association. Ellen Moore came up with this acronym. I'd take credit for it, but I can't. Sacramento Tracks Running through Sacramento Tracks Running Instruction on a Daily Improve. There you go. So, objective, provide access for all elementary schools. We're going to have every 1st through 6th grader be participatory in this program. Teach goal setting, promote self-confidence, make the connection between fitness and fun, add value to a positive school culture, and promote and teach a healthy lifestyle. The implementation piece to this is a little more involved, so I'll try and do it justice. If not, Ellen, step forward. Partnering with SRA. So schools it'll operate during lunchtime. At the end of each season, at the end of the school year, they will conduct 6 end-of-the-year track meets in each of the areas. So we'll have a basketball championship, a flag football, and then end of the year, like field day, where we'll have all the students in those, 6th grade students in those divisions. That's something to aspire to in elementary school. 6th grade field day at the local high school. Schools will identify the coach. Sacramento Runners Association does all the training of coaches. They will conduct 51 assemblies during the month of September to kick off the program. They will train the site coordinator in terms of using of the software. It will operate during lunchtime. The expectation is that at least 2 times a week students will run, move, jog, walk during lunchtime. There are a number of rewards, incentives, challenges for students throughout the program. Constant feedback, celebration, positive reinforcement is a big piece of the SRA program. So how it looks is that if you're a 3rd grade student, I've gone to have my lunch, I go out to the running area, I have a barcode on my wrist or a lanyard around my neck, and the noon duty person or the running coach is out there with the scanner. So I'm moving, and I go around and I get scanned, and they know how many miles I've run at the end of the week, at the end of the school year, etc. The expectation is that by just doing it at least twice a week, students will run a minimum of 50 to 100 miles during the school year. Then again, at the end of the year, a field day event. And I would encourage you, I'll get the information to you, but they're hosting 2 dates already this year. I think one at Burbank. Are they both at Burbank? Both on June 5th and 7th. So they have already done some of this work in our district. The beauty of this program also is that it's almost a built-in program for PE teachers at the school site. There's 2 or 3 days of lesson plans in this if they want to be, included in some of the information here. So, and we've had feedback with some of those teachers as well. But the proposed budget, we know this is one-time money. The money for flag football will primarily go towards the initial purchase of jerseys, the referees, the equipment, and the Positive Coaching Alliance training. Basketball, very much the same. For the STRIDE program with SRA, the operation piece is 5 years of the ongoing support, purchasing the software, the scanners, the reward, the equipment, and the year-end meets. The stipends are something that is in preliminary negotiations with SCTA and the district. And then the security piece is we would have a campus monitor at every event throughout the year. So the program total of $667,000. Then after the first year, the estimated program sustainability costs for the flag football is $41,000. That's basically the referees for the year. The basketball program is about $17,000 a year, and stride is $50,000, and those are 6 end-of-the-year meets, and that's the cost. And once again, the ongoing discussion around the stipend piece. The process timeline, what we've done so far. Superintendent Aguilar sent us on this journey in November. We've met with staff, researched, identified potential program elements and community partners. Input gathered from district athletic staff and community partners. The draft proposal was developed and presented to a district leadership and bargaining unit leaders. I've met with UPE, SCTA, Teamsters, SCIU, and again, the continuing preliminary discussion with SCTA. We presented it to our elementary school principals yesterday, and here we are with our board members this evening. Next steps would be to finalize agreements with our community partners, get on task with ordering materials for the respective athletic activities, schedule the Positive Coaching Alliance training, meet again with principals in early August, develop a communication plan for parents, students, and for the program kickoff in like August or September. And then the last piece that we haven't shared, we're still trying to partner with, UNICEF is looking to be a part of this program as well. What they would do, Superintendent Aguilar said, well, can we get all the kids a Fitbit? So SRA connected us with the UNICEF organization, and they're looking at some underwriters in Sutter Health and Burger King. And what it would mean is every student would get a Fitbit for his or herself to keep, and as they move throughout the day, it tracks the number of steps they take, and for every so many steps, it frees up a bag of groceries for a needy family throughout the world. And what they're excited about is partnering with a district that's going to do a program district-wide, not just school by school. So we were hoping to hear something prior to the meeting, but we're still waiting for that, and hopefully that'll come to fruition. If it doesn't, our program with Stride is still full bore, and that would just be a nice adjunct to the program. So
wonderful.
That's it.
Alex, do we have any public comments at this time?
We have one public comment from Mr. Thomas Prue.
Got a handout. Hi, guys, board members and Superintendent Aguilar. My name is Thomas Prue. I work for the American Heart Association at the youth market. We do the jump rope for heart. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. There are currently a few schools in the SAC district that participate in the jump rope for heart. One of them was Diddy, who just finished. I just wanted to come forward and say this program here that you guys have going on is a great program. American Heart Association and our youth market program with Jump Rope for Heart is really in line with that. We come out to the schools, we do an assembly on heart health, and then it's wrapped into the curriculum with the PE teachers in terms of jump roping or hoops throughout like a week or 2 or 3 weeks, depending on how they want to do it. Teaches the kids about healthy lifestyle, teaches the kids about taking care of their own hearts, helping, and also there's a fundraising element about that, helping people with special or needy hearts. But I just kind of wanted to come forward and introduce myself. I'm the new director for the area, kind of give you guys a little bit of information about that and say that it's in line with what you guys are doing, and it's something that we can talk about further as you guys go along. So.
Thank you so much for your efforts. We deeply appreciate it.
Real quickly, so there's a lot of other programs out there, Running for Rhett, Girls on the Run.
I was wondering if you're going to include that.
And they're really they just fall right into line with that. That's an after-school program. SRA partners with them and supports them as well. So I did leave that piece out, but they're definitely, this is an opportunity for all those programs to be enhanced by this concept.
So, Greg, I have to tell you, we can't see or hear your excitement at all. It's wonderful to be able to rope you in your continued leadership in the district. We greatly appreciate it. I have to tell you, I've already heard from a couple principals who received this presentation yesterday, and they are extremely excited. And the parents who had heard about this through the superintendent's announcement as we were talking about making a reinvestment through the video statement that he put out a while ago have had questions, have followed up, because there is a sense that with a childhood obesity rate that is pretty epidemic, and with a lack of sports programming in our schools, particularly at the elementary school level, we have to do something. We have to do it in a cost-effective manner. And to me, what's pretty remarkable is, one, thank you so much to the city of Sacramento for making this happen. We know it wouldn't be possible without your leadership and partnership, particularly in this truncated amount of time. But beyond that, the fact that we're talking about serving tens of thousands of students through some pretty exciting sports opportunities at an initial cost of just over $600,000, and then an ongoing maintenance cost of less than $400,000 annually, actually $326,000, is astounding. And the idea that given our limited resources, we are forming community partnerships to provide meaningful sports activities and opportunities to our students is, for me, a true model of what an urban school district can be when we have vision and partnership and the political will to do something that students, parents, and communities are desperately asking for. So thank you so much for your leadership. And with that, we have some comments from Board Member Pritchett, followed by Board Member Vang.
Thank you, President Ryan, and thank you for this presentation. I share your excitement. As a mother of children that have been through this school district from preschool all the way through graduation, my kids played, my son played football, his high school, I should say his high school career. That's awful. But I also helped start a football and cheerleading organization in my community. And I think one of the things that broke my heart the most is how expensive it was for children to play in our community. And a lot of kids could not afford to be part of these types of programs. I mean, I don't even know what the cost is now. My son's been out of school for 6 years, and I would think that, I remember cheerleading alone was $500 to play, have for a uniform and for a season, for one season. And then the next year we changed the uniforms and we're paying all over again, right? So thank you for thinking of this. It's very important. The questions that I have, I'm not going to ask you to answer them today. I'd like you guys just to kind of get together and maybe send us out a board communication. So first off, I wanted to know how these programs were chosen for each of the districts, or for each of the sites, I should say. Yeah, because one thing I was thinking about was soccer. And maybe we should be reaching out to the Republic FC as a partner. And Einstein Middle School, they have a program where it's different sports programs, and they offer it to the elementary schools.
Yes.
So I'm curious to know if you've reached out to them to find out.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we can incorporate.
And Cal
what they're
Middle
already,
School has one also.
Yeah,
You
okay,
betcha.
so you can
They're
find
part
out
of it.
what they're doing and then how we can incorporate what they're already doing, because it's been very successful.
It has.
And then finally, because there's only a selected number of flag football and basketball jerseys that go along, what was that?
So you're asking all my questions.
Oh, I want to know how those students are chosen, because I'm sure you're going to have more than 25 flag football, 15 basketball players, right? I'm sure you're going to have more than that. So I want to know, how are each of those students chosen, and how do we rotate them?
That's the answer almost right there, is rotating them through if we have more kids in that. That'll be part of the coaching that they get with our commissioners and coaching alliance. What are the goals of participation? We have enough games, enough opportunities to rotate that through.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you again. I really do appreciate all of your hard work.
Thank you for your good questions, Board Member Pritchett.
I'll have a comment, even though my questions were taken by Board Member Pritchett. Mr. Purcell, you were a principal at Sutter, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I was there as a middle school student when you were a principal there.
Okay.
And actually, I'm super excited because I actually played, I was grade. Yeah, so it's kind of cool. Full circle. That was my first comment, and then I had all these questions, but board member Pritchett. Oh, I know I'm a little loud already. It's okay. Had already asked those questions, but I'm super excited, and I can feel your enthusiasm, and I'm excited for our 20,000 plus kids that's going to get this opportunity. So thank you so much.
And I think maybe we're going to get a board basketball team together soon. That'd be fun. So we have a comment from Board Member Hanson, followed by Board Member Minnick and Board Vice President Wu.
Well, thank you for the presentation, and I want to give a special thanks to all the community partners. So thank all of you for being here. Thanks to the mayor's office for participating in this as well. As a new runner myself, I couldn't stand it when I was a kid, so it's really been a late in life love. But I wish I would have learned it as a young student. It really would have changed my life. So I think that's something I'm just really excited that we're doing this. It's expensive, but I think, we make the commitment here, then we keep that commitment going forward. So I know it's something, as chair of the budget committee, we'll be discussing in my budget, in our budget deliberations. But it sounds like a valuable expenditure, and one I think that'll be embraced by the community. So just excited to see this here.
Thank you.
Thanks for the update.
Thank you, Board Member Hanson. Board Member Minnick? Second Vice President Minnick.
I got to get my due. No, thank you very much. This is really exciting. I'm excited that there's so many partners involved in this. I feel like this is going to impact so many kids. And I appreciate Mr. Prue speaking about the project of the Heart Association, because it brought up this whole other set of list of organizations that are doing similar work that is so aligned with this. And as we change to more of a culture of healthy lifestyles and active lifestyles, I'm excited that there are so many organizations out in our community that, as they start, getting more involved in our, on our campuses, given that we're going to have this shift to this more active lifestyle with all these athletics, I feel like it creates this great opportunity for us to build even more connection with our nonprofit organizations out in the community. So I'm really happy. I feel like it helps our kids on so many levels. I did have a couple quick questions. One was regarding how you divided up the divisions. Specifically because you talked about feeder patterns, and
yes.
I know our feeder patterns are all kind of wonky in this district anyway, but specifically around West Campus, because it's not a neighborhood school, and I was curious how you came up with that feeder pattern. And then the other question I just had around kind of locations and transportation. As if we're going to look at these groups of kids, coalescing around a site that has a good field and stuff, what are the conversations in terms of like cost for transportation for some of those kids?
Yeah, we know that is the one outlier that we're going to continually have to address and support schools on. One of the reasons for the divisions is to kind of keep it close and local, so parents aren't having to drive clear across town. We'll do the best we can with that. When we talked to principals yesterday, we said, start planning on this now, in that you're going to have to start organizing carpools or transportation for the program. So we will, again, do our best to try to keep it as close to the schools in need, where the middle school gyms are, et cetera. But it'll be a challenge. That is still will remain one of our challenges. But I think if we get out ahead of it enough, where principals and teachers can start to talk with parents at the beginning of the school year, especially those intermediate school students, they can start to identify those people who can help transport students. Then on the West Campus piece, so I already heard from Gail Johnson on Keith B. Kinney. So, but primarily also, where do they go to middle school? Was another way to look at it. They go to elementary to middle. So in looking at not only West Campus location, but, a lot of the kids from Caleb, David Lubin, Phoebe Hurst, Theodore Judah, Washington, William Land, they all go to Sutter. A lot of them do. And then a lot of the Sutter kids would either go to McClatchy or West Campus. So without having an East Area high school, we just felt that that was going to be the best area to do it. And there's a few outliers in there in terms of distance, but Caleb, Lubin, Phoebe, Judah, Washington, they're pretty close. So that is the one area that doesn't have that whole high school piece. Yeah. Hope that answers the question.
No, it does, and I know that that's a little funky one, but
it is.
But we don't want to miss the opportunity that there's a new field there, right? So we want to use it.
Exactly.
So I appreciate that. So thanks for clarifying some of that.
Yeah, thank you.
Vice President Wu.
Thank you. Shout out to the city of Sacramento. Erica, thank you so much for stepping up. And a shout out to my Kennedy alums for stepping up. Mm-hmm. I hope to see you all on the Saturday after next at the 50th anniversary barbecue at Kennedy. And Greg, I was just wondering, how much of those jerseys, could I get one that says Kennedy on there?
Betcha.
Then I wear an extra large, and I can go up against the other high schools in our region. I can wear it with pride and come to the game. And
darn right.
I get your check for Saturday, too.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Vice President Wu. Well, it looks like that is all for this evening. Thank you so much. We are so excited to get this program off the ground and appreciate all of your leadership, hard work, and energy. We are significantly behind right now on the agenda, so we're moving on to 9.4, approving board policy head lice revision, which will be presented by Victoria Flores and Terry Fox.
I know, I got it. Good evening, Board President Ryan, Superintendent Aguilar, and members of the board. I'm Victoria Flores. I serve as a Director of Student Support and Health Services, and with me tonight is our lead nurse, Terry Fox, who is also a nurse practitioner and an amazing nurse. So we will start off our presentation with our core value, and I'd really like to draw your attention to inequitable by design, and that we will confront and interrupt these inequities. And this is really why we are here in front of you tonight with revisions to our board policy for our head lice. The other thing that comes to mind is someone made the joke, lice is very fear-based. We all get itchy. Nobody wants to deal with it, right? It's just one of those things. But our current board policy is really perpetuating some inequities around attendance and unnecessarily sending our students home and excluding them from school. And so Terry is going to really walk you through the science of why that's not okay, why contributing to our chronic absenteeism is really contributing to our students not being on grade level and ultimately not graduating from high school. So she's going to take you through the evidence and answer any of your questions.
Hello. We don't have great socks or t-shirts, but we do have lice combs. If anyone, we have these for our parents.
I really
and
hope that I never have to use that on my 6 or 8-year-old.
So anyway, why we wanted to change the policy. Oh, thank you. Would you mind? Do you mind clicking for me? Is previously the policy asked us to send students home immediately the minute lice were found. Well, the science doesn't reflect that. By the time lice is found, it's actually probably been on the child's head for 30 days. So it's not like you're going to prevent the spread of infection by making them leave at 10 a.m. They can stay till the end of the day. And then we reach out to the families. How do you take care of this? And everyone wants to know how my child got it, and did they get it at the school? And so we take an evidence-based approach, and it's working out really well. The science has changed a lot. Since 2002 was the last board policy, and the science is there. California, CDC, American Academy of Pediatrics, National Association of Nursing. It's all the science is there. We want to align our goals with the practice and current evidence. We want to reduce absenteeism, and we want to support the schools and their families. We do that through education. We've been trying these new methods since the 16-17 school year. We respect a student's privacy. There's no longer whole classroom checks and lice shaming and all that. There's prompt treatment in the evening, return to school the following day, and then there's a checks and balances, how we check the child the next day, who we would call in if a case was resistant or directions weren't followed or there was some kind of barrier to access to care. So there's checks and balances, and we have a protocol if something becomes chronic. Then this picture is on our health services website on the SCUSD web, and basically it gives lots of tips, and it also has in 13 languages the guide from the California Department of Health on how to treat head lice. There's other frequently asked questions and lice facts. And finally, for costs, it is consistent with policy for the LCAP goals. We will not lose ADA like we have in the past for especially midday absences, and sometimes when people would go home, they would stay home. And it reflects the current science, and once adopted, we will continue to teach our schools how to use it and do our best practice and best evidence-based medicine. We're done.
Thank you. That was very efficient. Do we have any public comments? It looks like Alex is gone.
There's no public comments.
Okay, and we do have one board member comment from Board Member Pritchett.
Thank you. I just have one. I'm guessing by your comment about no more lice shaming, because I remember my daughter had beautiful long, hair, and they would have all of, the elementary school kids lined up by the nurse's office and then checking them one by one, and those that they found eggs or actual lice, they would send them off to the side, right? And so that everybody knew that they had lice. So that doesn't happen anymore. That's what you're saying.
That does not happen.
That is fantastic. Thank you for changing.
You want to know
that.
how someone is referred? So a teacher would refer someone that had symptoms, and they would send them up to the front during non-instructional time, preferably. The head would be checked, and if live lice were found, the child gets to go back to class, but we call the parent and we send home an envelope with the child of the treatment, and then again when they come the next day, they're quietly brought to the side and double checked to make sure they're clear of nits and clear of live lice.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that. And that actually leads me to my next question. Is what types of resources do we have as a district for the lice shampoo? Because as we know, it's fairly expensive, and some people may not be able to afford the lice shampoo. So if we send them home, they're not getting treated, and then they're being sent back.
That is such a good question. So we don't have any resources for that at this time. So let me tell you some of the ways we've gone about that. So when we send that information home, our most common reason a child would come back the next day untreated is a barrier to buying this stuff. And this, we have ways to get it for about $9. But sometimes a retreatment needs to be done within 7 to 10 days, so there's another $9. And sometimes it's not just the one student, but there's a few students in the home. So I can tell you how many sweet nurses, sweet teachers, and how many sweet principals have actually bought some of it for. We do have the lice combs we can give them, which are way better than the ones that come in the kit, which are just small and plastic. And we also have lots of tips of how to be successful. And I've also had some parents actually call the really expensive places that come and do all these things to your house. And someone has spent up to $1,000 and more. And I say, $9, we can do this for $9. And, but as far as a fund for that, we don't have that.
Yeah, I mean, you say $9, but typically it's going to cost more. They need to do all their laundry. They might not have washer and dryers.
That's
they need,
very true.
It's kind of a larger process than just going through their hair and getting the bugs out. I'm going to ask that the superintendent have staff look into finding a resource, and we may be able to partner with someone that would be able to give us a discount or a donated item that we can keep on site.
That would be
to be able to give to our lower income families.
That would be fantastic.
Thank you you for your presentation.
Thank you
It's
so
very
much.
a nitpicky situation, as you
Thank
like to
you.
say.
Any
Thank
other
you.
questions? All right. Thanks so much.
We appreciate it.
Oh, do we need to take a vote on that? This is conference, do we have to take a vote? We have to approve it.
So that is actually an action item, so we need to approve board policy. Do we have a motion to approve? Second. All those in favor? Aye. Oh, sorry, it's action, thank you. Okay, sorry, we'll be voting next time. We were trying to move this ahead. We're on item 10.0, the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
We do have a public comment, Madam President. I think Alex has two on one item under 10.1A. This has to do with the recommended award to lease-leaseback agreement for transportation facility and warehouse renovation. And it is a lease-leaseback contract proposed to be awarded to Roebelin Contracting.
So we have two public comments on this item. The first is Bryce Newell. The second card did not list a name, so whoever submitted that card should come to the front.
First off, thank you guys for giving us a voice. I'll start. My name's James Wheeler. My card was the one without it. Okay. A little bit nostalgic for me, having been in education for a lot of years, so kind of fun to be back to see the process unfold. I want to talk to you guys about the procurement process that this district has undergone with Roebelin for the kitchen renovation and transportation facility. So it's a lease-back project, and by all appearances, this district did a fantastic job in their procurement, selecting Roebelin to be the GC to do the project. Okay, from there is where I have a concern, and it's interesting. We talked about funding, or you all talked about funding for small things like basketball and everything else. And my, contention is small. It's a $20,000 discrepancy, but that can be a big deal to pay for an education program. We're a subcontractor. We bid with Roebelin. We were a named alternate on a specification for a very focused section of the lift. Okay, it's a lift for the shop to lift the buses for maintenance. Okay, we were a good faith partner with Roebelin, and we bid our specific section. Okay, we learned after the bid that was conducted by Roebelin that our section was $20,000 low bid. We were the low bidder, but we were not chosen to be recommended to you guys as the contractor of choice, and that's where I have some issue, and I've submitted a very detailed presentation to you all, and I can't cover it all in 2 minutes. Two main points. Roebelin did not follow Sacramento City contract document requirements, and they did not solicit 3 competitive bids in either the section we bid in or the neighboring section, which had implications on ours. The documents that you guys put out indicate there must be a reasonable effort made to solicit 3 bids. My contention is there wasn't one made, not a reasonable effort, because I typed in search terms into Google and competition showed up as the number one or two result, and that competition was not solicited to bid. Second item is that it's a public contract, and as a subcontractor, I'm protected by contract code 4100, and this prohibits bid shopping and bid peddling. And what happened in this situation is Roebelin had our bid. There was another bidder in our section. That bidder was informed that they were the low bidder, or that we were the low bidder, excuse me, and then that bidder was allowed to manipulate their pricing, change their pricing on the remainder of work that they had supplied, as they were the only bidder in that section, which then erased our bid margin. Okay. Furthermore, there is a definite conflict of interest with that bidder. It's detailed in the packet I gave you. I can't cover it now, and I can't ask you to give me business tonight. All I can ask is that you remove it from the consent agenda. Give it a very close look, further review, because I think there is a very, very compelling argument here. Thank you for your time.
Good evening, members of the board, Supervisor Aguilar.
My name is Bryce Newell. I'm the Territory Sales Manager with Municipal Maintenance Equipment, along with James Wheeler. So I had the pleasure of working with Ronald Hill, Director of Transportation Services, as well as Kurt Schroner, Head Mechanic for the bus maintenance facility currently at the school district. So it's been about a year and a half since we've been working together, planning this new facility, working with them to plan the in-ground lifts that we provide. And early on, Director Hill told me that Superintendent Aguilar is very data-driven, so that I should provide life cycle costs of our product, of our equipment, and so we did that. And so we provided life cycle costs for 20 years, life cycle cost of our lifts, and we submitted that first thing of the year to the district. And I just want you guys to be aware that not only are we 20,000 low bid, but the life cycle cost for our lifts versus the other brand being awarded is approximately $30,000 difference over 20 years. So the other brand is about $30,000 more to maintain those lifts, and that's times 3 because there's 3 lifts going into this shop. So that's about $90,000 difference over 20 years. So we feel strongly, needless to say, that the prudent financial thing to do is to go with the lifts that are ours that are significantly cheaper. So and with that, I'm happy to provide the board with that cost analysis breakdown as I provided Ron Hill a few months back. Thank you.
Right now? Okay. So it looks like we have a couple questions from Board Member Pritchett. And then, Jerry, you were going to respond?
Yes, I think the questions should be asked, and then I would like to give my opinion as well. I think Jim Dobson is here. I don't know if there's a representative from Robolone as well who may want to address the issues. May want to step forward for the questions that may be asked by Board Member Pritchett. And then I will give my legal opinion, if I may, Madam President.
Of course, thank you.
My name is Kevin Honeywell. I work with Robolone Contracting.
Good evening. My name's Adam Villicaro. I'm a Vice President at Robolone. Kevin Honeywell here with me is one of our estimators on our staff. Jim asked us to come in and share some additional information, which I'd like to do. So we bid the project, which in its totality is about a $26 million project. We solicited 653 subcontractors to bid the project. Within that 653 subcontractors, 17 subcontractors and or vendors were targeted to bid the mechanical lifts and or lift related equipment.
Shop equipment.
Shop equipment. So with that, we received a number of bids. Kevin does an analysis. By virtue of his analysis, he's able to show that there was not a $20,000 savings with regard to this equipment. In fact, going to a competitor would have cost the district another $30,000. And I say that because as a general contractor, we look at the package in its totality. The lifts in themselves represent an incomplete scope of work. As a way of example, a competitor's total package price was $817,000. Packaging that similar scope of work but using competitors or MME's package would have cost the district $845,000. So that difference in itself is a savings of $27,000 to the district when you look at the project scope in its totality and not necessarily in a vacuum.
Inclusive of the basis of design for that our specifications were written towards.
So you're saying that parceled out, there potentially was a savings, but in the totality of the various contract items, there was, in actuality, not an additional cost incurred, but a $30,000 total cost reduction.
That's correct. Additionally, the $817,000 includes the equipment that's the basis of design. MME has proposed equipment that is subject to further review and evaluation by the design team to be accepted.
I'd like to respond.
Jerry, can you please advise?
You can allow them to respond. It's up to the board. And questions, I don't know if they've been posed yet by Board Member Pritchett. I will give you the overview that in the lease-leaseback process, the criteria that is set for RFPs is for the generals, and you rank the generals based upon experience, costs, and other factors. And in the ranking, the best value was determined to be Roebelin. The board really does not get involved in the subcontractors. Those are selected as part of the best value package submitted by general contractors. So what you're being asked for is a postponement based on cost savings that are being maintained by the sub that presented to you and cost savings by Roebelin. But this is not a traditional design, bid, build contract where you have a process of subs that can basically file a protest. This is in a form of a protest, but bottom line, you have a $26 million project and by this contractor selected in accordance with the criteria being proposed, and the staff work and the process selected Roebelin based on base value and their lump sum. As far as bid shopping, I do not see that. So from a legal perspective, but obviously you can allow more information to be provided by the board, I did not see in reviewing this that there was any legal prohibition or reason why this award should not be awarded tonight.
Thank you, Jerry. We have one comment, one question from Board Member Pritchett.
Thank you, President Ryan. And I apologize. I did not get to read your information until you were speaking tonight, and I was looking through it. And I know that you reached out to me via email. I apologize for not getting back to you. I had been traveling. You seem to have valid complaints, and I think that this has merit to just investigate. And I'm not saying who's right, who's wrong. I'm just saying it has merit to investigate. So I guess my only question is for Jim Dobson, who I thought I saw him, is what would be the impact of delaying this until our next board meeting?
Well, actually, this was supposed to be at the last board meeting, but as you know, we were still resolving some issues with SMUD. So we've been delayed 2 weeks. The next 2 weeks could actually hinder a critical path. Right now in this project is the replacement of the refrigerators and freezers in the warehouse. So all of the food has been removed from the existing refrigerator freezer, taken off-site, and this contract will allow Roebelin to start building the new warehouse freezer and refrigerator. If we don't get that done by early August, it's going to be very difficult for food services to meet the challenge to get everything ready for the start of school.
Yeah, I completely understand that. I guess our next facilities committee meeting is May 14th. And so I'm just wondering if we delay it until the next board meeting, which would be May 17th? May 17th? Yeah, I believe May 17th. Then it would still give us a little bit of time to look into this matter. And I think I would feel more comfortable with voting on it.
So we have one additional comment from Board Member Hansen.
Thank you. My question was, do we do just best bid? Are we doing best value, or are we doing lowest bid when we do our projects? I've got a lot of experience in both, and sometimes best value is the way to go. Sometimes low bid is the way to go. I'm comfortable with both procedures, depending on what best suits, the district and our facilities and moving our projects forward. Can you tell me, maybe
Sure. In the new reformulated process for awarding leaseback, it is a best value, but cost is a component of that. So it factors into the ranking as well.
Okay, because that makes me more comfortable with the process that was used to get to the decision that was made. If we had a best value project, that's our process, and we're looking at the overall best value of a $26 million project. There's a lot of different pieces to all that need to come together. I would prefer not to delay moving on projects. Cost just goes up and more problems come out of the blue. The longer we wait, I would hope that we would move forward with this project tonight.
So thank you, Board Member Hanson. I would just also call out our council's legal advice that the general contractor is empowered to select on these bids and that it is not the purview of the board. And I would hate to set a precedent where we were getting involved in that level. I do think that Board Member Pritchett's questions and considerations are a part of how we should be informed about the processes moving forward so that we're more comfortable. But I would hate to delay this and set precedent that we were getting in the weeds at a level that should not be board practice. So, Jerry, you said legally, based on the fact that this is an agendized item, we can have response?
You can. That's the prerogative of the board.
Okay, we have 1 minute for response, and that's all. Thank you.
Was it a best value procurement initiated by Roblin? And we have much experience working with Caltrans and Department of General Services, and every single best value procurement I have ever been a part of, there has been a detailed, specific criteria provided to bidders. In this case, we got nothing. It was a request for bid, and per your contract documents, it says you must follow in an informal bid procedure, which is what this was. You have to get 3 competitive bids, period. You call your GCs out and expect them to do that. That was not done. They indicated that they had, 26 subcontractors they solicited in our space. I say prove it, because they did not call the #1 largest manufacturer in Sacramento or #1 largest supplier in the city of Sacramento, the #1 ranked in Google. And furthermore, nobody's mentioned the conflict of interest. The company that they are choosing to award to has shared ownership. Roblin Construction has an employee who is a vice president who has an interest in Aaron Loop Services, as do 4 of Aaron Loop's other owners. It's significant. I'm not asking you to give me an award, but I'm asking you to look at it. Thank you.
We will certainly look into this matter. We appreciate your comments. Thank you. We have no other items that we're taking off the consent agenda. With that, I will entertain a motion for the adoption of the consent agenda's remaining items. Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
I abstain. Moving on to item 11, communication.
I think we need a motion on this particular item.
Okay. We're going to take a motion on item, what was it? 10.1A. Do we have a motion?
Yeah, the leaseback agreement for transportation facility and warehouse renovation project, award to Roblin. That's the item.
Do we have a motion on the leaseback agreement? Do we have a second? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstain? Abstain. Thank you, Board Member Pritchett. We'll duly note that. Item 11.0, communications. Item 11.1, employee organization reports. SCTA.
Good evening. David Fisher, President of Sacramento City Teachers Association. Came prepared with some remarks that were planned on being very positive about some mutual interest, summer school program that we've been working on, additional money that be left over on arts and music, restorative justice, and other proposals we have, including the progress we've been making with the recruitment committee, which is very positive. I don't even know where to begin. So, can't just allow you to continue to recklessly slander and defame the good name of our teachers. It's outrageous. Well, the name was mentioned. I think there's some policy and some issues with that. Just unbelievable. The words that you said weren't even, that you alleged you said, weren't even in the district's own very biased description of what they said happened. Just made some stuff up. The word this kid's come out is reckless, unbelievably reckless. Prior to closed session, we produced documentation, gave it to all of you, with their written statements that didn't even have the unbelievable, slanderous, defamatory remarks, and then again, saying public name outside. I'm going to see the rest of my time to Nikki, who has a lot of this details, but I can't believe it.
Earlier today, before closed session, you were shown documented proof of one of the APs at ZK McClatchy submitting a draft statement on the 4th of December of the events of a grievance meeting on November 30th. That was a significantly different story than what she submitted about the same meeting on December 13th. That AP's second draft of the story remarkably coincides with the outrageous lies the principal submitted in his statement, even down to the change of the spelling of a critical word to match the principal's statement. You were also shown documentation of another AP at McClatchy who significantly changed his story of events on a September 26th meeting. You were given copies of his commitment that he submitted, the statement he submitted regarding the meeting that was made on 9/26 right after the meeting, and the very different and much more inflammatory statement he made of the same events on January 18th. These are your administrator's own statements and draft statements that were given to us in response to public records requests. Also earlier today, you were given a copy of an email where an HR director who was assigned to investigate the teacher's complaint that on 9/26, the principal of CK McClatchy had gone down on one knee, raising his fist in the air, insulting the teacher by calling him Trump, and telling the teacher to violate the contract. Then the principal remained on his knee while his assistant principal came in and put his hand on the principal's shoulder, mocking the recent very serious social justice protest of NFL players that was all over the news recently. You were given an email from that HR director assigned to investigate the behavior of the principal. The principal who she was investigating, she blind CC'd that principal in setting up a meeting to interview one of his subordinates who had witnessed the principal's outrageous display and the hurtful and insulting things he said to the teacher on the 26th of September. You were also aware that the notes of that HR director's interview of that critical office staff who witnessed the principal's behavior have been conveniently lost. Instead of pausing, and we presented all of this to you before closed session, so that this did not go out on public broadcast. But instead of pausing and thinking, we have these completely different statements from one of the APs, changed from the first one to the second one. And we have another AP who significantly changed his written statements also. And they all seem to coincide and align with the smear campaign the principal of that school has been trying to put up as a smokescreen in front of all the other problems and issues that you are well aware of are occurring at that school. that unfortunately are all over the paper.
Nikki, we're at
As
about
you
5
know,
minutes
we have
now.
15 minutes as SCTA presentation. So
Jerry, can you
there
please
are
advise? I
also
have 3
serious-
minutes listed out.
You also know that there are serious questions about how
You
they
do have 3 minutes for each employee organization here.
And if you check our contract on organizational rights, we have 15 minutes to present to the board.
Well, let me read that, if I may, Madam President, for the benefit of the board and the presenters.
And you can read that while I'm speaking, because then we can all go home a little earlier. So as you know, there were serious questions about how those events were investigated.
The rule.
Instead of doing that, Mr. Hansen, as a representative of this board, makes another attack, again in a situation where the victim of his attack cannot respond. That kind of attack, which included further reckless, defamatory, and untrue embellishments on one of the most progressive and well-respected teachers at CK McClatchy, is shameless. And I am done.
Thank you, Ms. Molesky. SEIU, TCS, Teamsters, UPE,
Buttons pushed.
Okay, once again, do we have the space within Brown Act to respond to comments when we have organizational reports from our bargaining partners?
Any matter on your agenda is subject to public comment. And that public comment can either be from a private citizen or a board member, but that is the right of public comment to any agenda item on the agenda.
Okay. Yes, no, absolutely. I understand during board report outs. Jay, do you want to hold this for your board report out?
I'm talking about positive things. Not,
okay, so
yes,
just...
I'm going to report on 11.1. I'd like to comment on that.
Okay, so just before you respond, I do want to say once again, going into tonight's meeting, not wanting to be caught off guard with a non-agendized item, we did discuss what, based on Brown Act, is appropriate in situations like this. Ms. Miletsky, obviously, we gave 5+ minutes. I was told, and based on my agenda, you were allotted 3. We are trying to ensure that we're setting a tone for our students, for our families, and that we are responding fairly and appropriately in this situation. Board Member Hansen, your comment?
Thank you. I think it's important, that I also set the record straight. The documents that were handed to us by Mr. Fisher, I quoted from verbatim. So those are your comments that you gave to us, and I'm sure, they are also public record now, so this is all public information. So folks can take a look at it themselves who are interested. But I'm less and less surprised to hear the remarks of our SCTA leadership. But I was surprised to read the written comments to us where SCTA Executive Director John Borsos belittled, Principal Lambert on November 30th with, "This isn't your show, buddy. You have no authority here." And then another time to another administrator who also happens to be African American that, "As usual, Roxanne, your paperwork is incomplete and you are incompetent and unprepared." So at a time when we should be working to better serve our special education students, what did we do with SCTA? We fought for years to give special ed students the right to meet their teacher. But we fixed that in this last contract. We should be working to increase our graduation rates and increase our A through G completion. Instead, we're wasting times on the problems of the adults. I hope we go back to working on the problems of the students. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the District Parent Advisory Committee reports, 11.2, Community Advisory Committee, the District English Learner Advisory Committee, the Local Control Accountability Plan and Parent Advisory Committee. Are you representing LCAP? Wonderful.
Yes.
Thank you so much for staying. I know we're running a bit late tonight. We appreciate your patience.
I can almost get home in time to get my kids to bed. All right. Well, thank you very much for your time. I'm Catherine Horiuchi. I'm on the LCAP LCFF Parent Advisory Committee representing our committee. We had our last meeting, 9 of 14 committee members present. We had presentations on the Every Student Succeeds Act and how we're going to use the LCAP to tie that together, and had a preview of the presentation you've seen on the LCAP. I'd like to say that while some of the people on the LCAP Parent Advisory Committee are very narrative-oriented and like to tell stories, some of us are also very number-oriented and like to focus on the metrics. And for the last couple of years, we've been really working to try to have real metrics on the LCAP that we can share with parents to show where that money's going and whether or not it's having the impact suggested. So some of the changes to the LCAP metrics that you've seen are related to our long discussions about what we think they mean. We've added some LCFF fidelity indicators to make sure that the money's being spent on the targeted communities, and this discussion came up in our meeting about students with disabilities, whether or not we need an indicator for them. It's very clear that if there is no indicator and no standard that's met, nothing changes. If you just have a standard that we didn't meet it, and the next year you have the standard we didn't meet it, then you can be sure that we're not getting anything measured that's going to allow us to change anything that matters. We also had some discussion about whether or not we should use percent of students who met or exceeded standards rather than have the number of being 30 or 40 points above or below the number which is meet standards. Since the standard meet band is about 70 points, for instance, 5th grade meet standard is 2502 to 2581. Parents have absolutely no idea what those numbers means. We don't have any clarity or understanding about what the difference is between a 2501 and a 2502, which one meets and one doesn't meet. And when you look at the standards, for the math 3 to 8, we have a baseline right now of 45 below, a target of 40, an actual of 46 below, and a target of 40 below. But those might be the exact same number of students because it's just a number where the band is very wide. So we think we should at least include always the percentage of students who meet or exceed standards, because that's a number that means something. That way you can say that 32% met and 67% did not meet, and parents understand those numbers better than the minus or plus a few points. We're also concerned about the idea that cumulative GPA for West Campus High School, you can be thrown out of it. Apparently, you can be involuntarily disenrolled at West Campus if your GPA is so low. So it's discouraging to parents from other schools if their students are not part of that highest achiever, when in fact one of the high schools has the opportunity to just remove all the people who aren't going to be high achievers. I think that kind of goes against some of the superintendent's initiatives to make sure that every student can achieve to the highest of their ability. Also, we had a discussion about parent. I'm sorry, I just have a couple of little things.
Okay,
Sorry.
thank you. No, please wrap
Since
up.
my colleagues didn't show up, I will go on. We talked about the parent-teacher home visits, and we have numbers like the number of visits, but we really want to know more about what happens when students are visited. Parents like this opportunity, but we want to know what's happening in those visits. Also, we have a number of how many teachers attended training, but we don't know how many of those teachers actually went on a home visit. We don't know if one teacher is going on half the home visits or whether they are actually distributed. So if we want to know how our money is working, we want to know if the people getting the training are going out.
Those are all excellent questions. Can I ask you, do you have them in writing that you can submit to us?
Yes, we have
for
this. They're all in
consideration?
yes, we're in notes. We can give all that to you. Lastly, on Infinite Campus, we know that about 5,000 families have a parent account, but we have 40,000 students, and we had some discussion about how to make Infinite Campus meaningful and up to date in a way that's useful to parents and students and make it easier for parents to register. In some summary, we'd like to say that The district is gathering more data, but some of the data doesn't lead to accountability. So many processes are voluntary. Coordination with the SIPSAs from the school sites councils is something we want to improve on. And finally, in terms of the LCAP PAC itself, we would like the school board to consider how long a term people should have, whether those terms should be staggered, because there's really a lot of ramp-up time for new members to get value to the school district and to Kathy Morrison.
That's absolutely agreed, and we're taking many of those considerations into account, and I'm hopeful that the staggering of terms will be happening very shortly.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Moving on to item 11.3, Superintendent's Report.
Thank you, President Ryan. Good evening, everyone, and to members of the public. I want to begin by congratulating students, family, and staff from Phoebe Hurst, Camellia Basic, and William Land. Most of our site leaders and several of our staff are in Southern California receiving and being honored in Anaheim tonight as California Distinguished Schools. So congratulations to all of our school communities that are representing Sac City Unified there. We're obviously with them in spirit tonight as we are here for our board meeting. They've done a tremendous job of engaging their communities and producing great outcomes for students, and we couldn't be any prouder. It's hard to believe, but we only have 6 weeks left for this academic school year until June 14th, which is our last day of school. And as that date approaches, just a reminder that in some ways we're expanding the school year through our expanded learning summer program, which will serve about 4,300 students at 24 of our school sites through an opt-out philosophy. So we have pre-enrolled all of those students to get closer to reaching grade level readiness. And expanded learning will start on June 18th, so just a few days for our students to rest. Letters to parents and guardians began going out this week, so if you see one of those letters, I hope that you will review it carefully and give our students the opportunity to stay engaged with us academically and hopefully bear the fruits of our work before the first school day of the fall. It's important for us to all remember that we are focusing on very important milestones. We intend to serve our current kinder students, our current second grade students, our current sixth grade students, our current eighth grade students, high school students as well, through credit recovery and other opportunities. So I urge our parents and guardians and students to think about attending our expanded summer learning program so that we're better prepared to start with a stronger academic achievement on the first day of school. Also want to thank or congratulate our Cal Middle School students coached by teacher Maria Aguilar, no relationship, who won 3 first place wins recently at the Mesa Regional Championship held at Cal State Hayward. We're very proud of the students who will go on to represent middle schools and from the northern region at the state level. Winners will then go on to the national championship in June. MESA stands for Mathematics, Engineering, Science Achievement, and the organization promotes STEM careers among diverse student groups. So congratulations and good luck in the upcoming competitions. First, Marcos Galvan, Jalora Gordon, and Brooke Brandenberger, who took first place in the Think Tank competition. Keller Friesen, Duncan Huff, who brought home gold in the Machine Launch competition, and Mason Navid, Nia Plaza, and Grace Anderson Mossberg, who placed first in the NEDC competition, forwarding them onto the state championship level at UC Irvine on May 12th. Congratulations also goes out to William Land and LDV communities for winning scholarship grants from State Treasurer John Chang's office. It's the second consecutive year that they won a grant. The schools were presented with checks yesterday in a special ceremony. Board President Ryan, a Da Vinci parent, represented the district. Our schools were 2 of 20 schools that received the grants to enrich their academic programs. And they won based on the votes they received, and the size of the awards were based on enrollment. William Land got $10,000, and Da Vinci won $20,000. Finally, two important community events. One of them, Member Wu spoke about on May 12th. John F. Kennedy Community will celebrate the school's 50th anniversary with a picnic from 11 to 2 at the campus. The event is free, but donations are welcome. Congratulations to the school and the Pocket community on this important milestone. And finally, it's time again for students to nominate favorite teachers for recognition at the second annual Teacher Appreciation Gala. Nomination deadline is Friday, May 11th. The event takes place on May 31st. Look for information in our e-connection. The event on May 31st is from 6 to 9 p.m. at Memorial Auditorium, and the event is sponsored by the Sacramento Unified Education Foundation and the district. Thank you, President Ryan.
Thank you, Superintendent Aguilar. I do have to say on the Scholar Share Award and check presentation by State Treasurer John Chung, my daughter was mortified to have me standing in front of an assembly of 500 individuals and speak, especially when the State Treasurer pointed out who my daughter was by name. However, my day was made when later on I got a text from her teacher telling me that she had shared on the playground that while she was really embarrassed, she thought that I was awesome. So that really not only made my day, but my week. I will be very brief. I do want to just say, I began to speak a bit about Mental Health Month. I want to recognize that there are so many students throughout our community that are suffering in silence, that mental illness is a stigmatized illness that families grapple with often without the feeling that they can talk about the illness that they're trying to deal with day in, day out. And with all of the fear and uncertainty that's been happening at a local level, with the hate rhetoric at a national level, that depression, anxiety, and at times hopelessness to the point of considering things like suicide is heightened at an epidemic level. We know that every year there is a loss of young life that's unacceptable. I will tell you it's hard when we lose anyone that we know had an opportunity to achieve great things. When we lose a young person, it is tragic and heart-wrenching beyond words. And so I just want to say, as we look at Mental Health Month as an opportunity to talk about these issues openly, really, let's lean into an understanding that there are so many students suffering in silence and that we will lose students to suicide if we do not take every preventative measure possible, whether it's as a teacher, an administrator, an after-school provider, a parent, or a community member, to see those signs of anguish, to reach out and to offer help. And so I hope that we do that as we wear our green ribbons, so that we're taking this show of solidarity and translating it to action to prevent the loss of more lives. Student board member report will be bypassed tonight as we have our student board member earning some final patches, I think, for the Girl Scouts troop or something to that effect. And then information sharing by board members. We have Board Member Vang, followed by Board Member Hansen, and finally Vice President Wu.
Awesome. So I will keep this short, 1 minute. So this morning I had an opportunity to go to Cosumnes River College with Superintendent Aguilar for an awesome competition, Design Build, which happens every year. Our high school students at Rosemont, it was their first year competing, and our Luther Burbank students were also out there as well, and it was just incredible. I also learned that a leader of a project or a construction project is called Superintendent, and so we actually had a young lady that led that project, and that was pretty awesome. Secondly, John Bidwell is having a community garden event on Saturday, May 12th. Let me look at my calendar. I should have wrote this down. Saturday, May Yes, Saturday, May 12th from 10 to 2. And refreshments will be provided. There's a lot of great community orgs that are coming out to help us build our community garden. One of that is Voice of the Youth that has been working with John Bidwell. So hopefully folks can come out for that. And then lastly, I just wanted to take this time to give a shout out to my 2 LCAP PAC reps who has worked incredibly hard on the LCAP, Laura Vu and Frank DeYoung. On Tuesday, May 22nd, we're planning to host our first Area 5 community meeting, and a lot of that heavy lifting and work has actually been done by Frank and Laura. And so I'm super excited because they're going to be presenting on LCAP. We're going to be trying to connect all our school site councils, PTOs in Area 5s, and our ELACs, and bring them together to have a conversation in Area 5 about if they have any questions, bring them together, for them to also learn about SIPSA, all of that good stuff. And a little bit, we wanted to also share about the new summer learning initiative as well. And so I'm really excited about that. And I just, again, want to give a shout out to my 2 LCAP reps who I know have always showed up to the meetings, super present, on time, in time. And so I just wanted to thank them both. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Vang. Board Member Hanson.
Thank you very much. I am going out next Wednesday morning and invite folks to join us for the William Land Bike Train. We're going to be meeting at Southside Park, and families and students are going to be biking to the school. So I think that was a lot of fun. So I'll be joining them out there for a quick little ride over there to get students more comfortable taking their bikes to school. I'm also working with several of our high schools. We're recruiting, I believe we're at 8 junior boys now, 2 from 4 different high schools to be fully funded. I'm sponsoring these students to go to the California American Legion Boys State program, which is held in June every year. It's a 1-week-long program at Cal State Sacramento. It's a great program that teaches students about leadership and about how our government works. A lot of great folks have gone through that program, and it's really a life changer. So really excited about that. It's going to be a great opportunity for our students, and hopefully we can expand it to be at all of our high schools. And then I found there's a girls' state program, but the recruiting deadline had passed for that. So we'll have to start work on that a little earlier to offer the same opportunity for junior girls from high school to participate in that as well. On April 14th, we have our budget committee meeting, and as our schedule, we go back and forth from Cerna Center to different schools. We'll be at Wilsey Wood Middle School, and we have a central kitchen task force meeting. It's been a bit since we've done an update there. I'm excited to keep that, our work at the district there with President Ryan. That's Tuesday, May 15th. And last week, we had a really great event celebrating Floyd Farms and the Food Literacy Center. It was a fundraiser for them held at Leotada Elementary School to learn about the great progress that we're making on that project. We had a lot of folks there, and appreciate President Ryan being there. And a really cool thing was it's a gourmet meal that's provided from, we have major chefs from all around the city, but the premier gourmet meal that was served for dinner was created and prepared by our own Sac City head chef. So, and it was delicious. So we're absolutely capable of doing really good things there. And I look forward to our central kitchen and the other, keep moving on the progress. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Hanson. Vice President Wu.
Thank you, President Ryan. So as not to repeat what everybody has already said, I just wanted to share that I was invited to attend Cesar Chavez Elementary, where there were some of the students were finishing up their last segments of filming for the Latino Cinema Institute. I think the theme that I recognize is they were filming on bullying. But what I wanted to share is that something their executive director, Raphael Austin, shared with me is that anecdotally around the state, they are finding that participants in this Latino Film Institute program, the children who have gone in as ESL students are coming out of ESL sooner than anticipated. So I hope that information and that data will be recorded, and so that we can use that as well to inspire our students to matriculate out of being English language learners. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Wu. And in closing out this section, before going to board committee reports, I do want to remind everyone that today is the big day of giving, and we have until midnight to make those donations, many of which will be honored and doubled from local area philanthropic supporters. So organizations like Food Literacy Project that was mentioned by Board Member Hansen are certainly worthy of our support. Do we have any board committee reports? Like we have one from facilities.
Next facilities meeting is May 14th from noon to 1:30 at the facilities office on First Street. Think about that.
Board Member Hansen?
I mentioned it before, but let me just formally say, Monday, May 14th, 3:30 p.m. will be the Sac City Budget Committee at Wilsey Wood.
Thank you, Board Member Hansen. Vice President Wu?
The Board Evaluation Committee met on April 27th. We will be meeting informally with Superintendent on May 8th. And I don't recall when the next meeting is scheduled, but it's shortly thereafter.
And since Board Member Vang doesn't have her button lit up, I will share that we are, do you want?
Yeah.
Oh, please go ahead.
We're meeting tomorrow at 1 o'clock. We're going to go over some policy. Sorry, it's late.
We're going.
We'll
be
safe
reviewing.
routes. And I believe we have another one late May as well.
And the final iteration of our safe haven.
That's right.
Major policy. We're very excited about that. Okay, so closing out, item 12.0, business and financial information / reports. We'll receive the reports and information, item 12.1. Item 13.0, future board meeting dates and location. Our next board meeting will be held on May 17th at 4:30 p.m. for closed session, 6 p.m. open session at the Cerna Center. And with that, we'll go to item 14.0, a motion for adjournment.
So moved. Second.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Adjourned.